Chapter 329. Your Majesty, it's not that we are incompetent. It's that Luo Qingtong is too arrogant. She is the future wife of the 5th prince of the Qianyu Empire. We don't dare to touch her.
6th Prince Chang and his entourage lay on the ground and cried bitterly. Not only did she take away all the supplies of the 3 armies, leaving an empty shell for us, she also crippled all the soldiers of the 3 armies.
Prince Cheng's face was gray. He never thought that Luo Qingtong's means were so cruel. At that time, after Luo Qingtong left, he didn't think too much. He directly scolded those soldiers who were stripped naked to get up. However, when a group of people crawled up while trembling in fear, another group of people were lying on the ground like dead fish. Only then did Cheng Lu Wangye feel that something was wrong. After asking, he learned that when Luo Qingtong ordered the Luo family's iron guards to attack, these people were ready to resist. Chapter 340.
But before they could do anything, they were all paralyzed.
Luo Qingtong shook
Not
off a
only
bunch
that,
of people who were
the
following
strength
her in
in
the
their
dark
body was
and
still
easily
disappearing
disappearing
little by
old
little.
monsterine
A
Ji
group of
had
people
captured
wept
her.
bitterly as they told Cheng Lu Wangye
Seeing
not to
Luo
abandon
Qingtong
them.
appear,
Otherwise,
the martial
they would
king
have no
experts who
chance
were
to live
guarding
in
the
the
valley
valley
all greeted
Prince
her.
Cheng's heart was shocked.
Luo
At this
Qingtong
time,
responded in a low voice and
activated
scanned the
his strength
surroundings.
suddenly cried out in despair.
She found that this place
My
had been built
strength.
very well by
My
the martial
strength
king
is slowly
experts.
disappearing.
This secluded
It
valley
turned
had
out that
already
even those
become
who
a
didn't do
small
anything
base
at
of
that
power.
time,
In
when
the
they
future,
activated their strength
this place
later,
would be the
fell into
prototype
the
of the
same
Luo
treatment as
family's
those who had
secret
attacked
power.
before.
It would
It
also
turned
be
out
the
that
starting
Luo
point of her
Qingtong's
future
previous
power.
sentence,
This
"I
place
advise you
will be
not to do
called
anything,
Heavenly Evil
or
Valley
you will have
from
to bear
now
the
on.
consequences," was not
Under
that
the
they shouldn't
heavenly
fight with
Tao,
the Luo family.
I am evil.
But that from now on,
Luo
they couldn't
Qingtong
use their
liked the
strength.
meaning of this name very
Otherwise,
much.
they would lose
Yes.
their strength.
The crowd
These
nodded in
people,
agreement.
because Master
They
Luo
had no
lost his
objections
strength,
to the name
turned
Luo
to the Dongli
Qingtong
royal
came up
family.
with.
Although
Luo
the name Luo
Qingtong naturally
came up
wanted
with
them
was
to taste
obviously
the
not
corresponding
righteous.
pain.
They were not righteous
Want
people in the
glory
first
and
place.
wealth?
Where
Want
is
to be
the
driven by the
storehouse?
Dongli royal
Take
family
me
to
there.
deal with the Luo family?
Yes.
The
She
crowd
didn't
give
give
them a
disperse.
chance.
A martial
She
king
wanted to
expert
take
stepped
back
forward and
everything
said
that
to
the
Luo
Luo family
Qingtong,
gave them.
"Master,
This way,
including
please."
these strength.
Yes.
At this point,
Luo
the 3
Qingtong
armies that the
followed into
Dongli
a
royal
storehouse
family
that had
tried
been
their best to
transformed
control
into a
completely
cave.
became a pile
These
of mud
martial
and
king
useless
experts were
firewood.
very good at choosing
Since the
places.
Dongli royal family
Although
wanted
the
to kill the
entrance of this
cunning
storehouse
rabbit and
looked
cooked
narrow,
narrow, it was
then
a
Master
stone
Luo
cave that had
didn't train
almost
the 3
hollowed out a
armies for
small
them.
mountain.
Luo Qingtong was such a vengeful and immediately saw a completely
Those
different
who helped
world.
her,
She would
yes,
repay them
this
tenfold.
place is very good.
Those who hated
This
her,
storehouse
she would
was very
repay them
hidden.
100-fold.
Luo Qingtong
She was
only
righteous,
needed to
but
casually
if they
set up
didn't,
some formations
don't blame her
inside,
for being
and it was
ruthless.
enough to make it
She
impossible
didn't have
for
Master
anyone to come
Luo's
out.
loyalty to the
If there
Dongli
was an
country
emergency
and the royal
and it could not
family.
be stopped,
Naturally,
then she could
didn't
directly
care about
destroy
the 3
entire
armies.
mountain. In this
Since
way,
the Luo
unless
clan
the
had no one
opponent
to
was a
help them
martial
when they were in
emperor
trouble,
above,
there were
they would
still
not be
people
able
who
to
hit them
escape
while
from
they
the
were
depths
down.
of the mountain when the
Then,
mountain collapsed.
she would let them know that
You
without the
guys
Luo
move
family
aside
and old
first.
Master Luo's
Luo
sacrifice,
Qingtong
they
said
were
to the
nothing.
martial king
There were
experts who
always some
followed
people
her.
who,
These
after
people
getting
had
used to
already
living a good
recognized
life,
her as their master,
began to forget
and there was
who
no
had brought
need
these
to doubt their
days to them.
loyalty. What?
Luo
When
Qingtong
King
naturally
Dongli
would
heard
not
this,
deliberately
he
hide the
almost
information
knew
about
it.
Miss
Xueqi
Empress
Imperial
Qianyu's
That's
hand
me,
and said
Royal Luo.
coquettishly.
On the
3
contrary,
armies
look
is
at what
the
I
army
did
to
to
her.
her.
Deterrent
His
could
voice
give
rose
them
high an
confidence.
octave.
She
Luo
might even hate
Qingtong
Master
journeyed
Jireo's
these
handle
panicked
as
and
her
frightened
right-hand
nod.
men.
When
King
she did
Luo
not want
felt
them to
dizzy
become
and
moved
almost
by
walking
Yuan
around
Shua's words.
Send a
Yes,
message
the
to the
Empress's
Qianyu
crowd
royal
obeyed and
family.
retreated. But she
Luo
still had a bit of
Qingtong
reason
took out
in
her
her
heart.
heart.
How to deal with her
Go
bosom
find
and
your
tongue
uncle
for
to
this
little
matter.
with her.
We
Yes,
cannot touch
do
the
it.
Luo
Received the
family
rest.
openly.
Don't let anyone
King
know.
Luo
Almost
was
our
revealing
Qianyu
an imperial family
countless
resources and rare
Qianyu
treasures
empire
suddenly
in the
appeared in
Black
the
Field,
storehouse built
especially
from a
Yuan
natural
Shuo finished
cause.
bathing and sat on the
He hadn't
wide bed
bear
in his
such a heavy
bedroom. The crowd
scandal.
couldn't
Help
help
but
but
be
be
blind
blind
here
by
by
the appearance of
Tell
Luo
them to do it
Qingtong's
cleanly.
eyes. When the time
Chapter
comes,
330.
have the Dongli
Everyone's
Imperial
strand of
family
spiritual
cooperate
force
at the
suddenly
treasures in front
emanated
of
from
them
his
that were
body.
Yuan
Wrapping
Shua
around
jumped
the
up in joy.
10-directional
They
dragon
also
ring
find
she
my
had their
uncle
jaws
now.
dropped.
Yi Qianxian
Imperial
had
mother,
originally planned to
don't
seriously
worry.
look for Luo
I'll
Qingtong.
definitely
Martial
do it
king
properly.
experts were strong enough to
Elder, you
establish
seem
a
to
small
have comprehended
country
a
or
new
even
method
become a
from the
distinguished
distinguished
guest
guest
of
of
an
an
intermediate country.
He
They were still
hastily
shocked
left
behind a few
They
words.
had never seen
telling
so
him
many
not to leave the
treasures
Black
and
Field for
resources.
the time being,
Almost
and to
every
return to
one
the
of these
medicine hall for
treasures was of a
seclusion.
higher quality
Since it
than
was
the
related
treasures
to
they
his
had seen
injuries,
before.
Yi
After
Qianxian
all,
could
they
only
were
stay
martial
behind
king
and send
experts.
Bei Qing's
The
wind
treasures
feather
they
out. used were incomparably powerful.
Although he couldn't go himself,
but at this moment,
he still wanted to see that
full
woman.
of treasures. The
He
treasures
wanted
they
to
owned
see
were
if that
completely
heartless woman had
overshadowed.
forgotten about him.
There were many things
Thinking of
inside
this,
that even a
Yi
martial
Qianxian's
emperor-level
deep eyes
expert might
faintly
not be able to
flashed.
possess.
With a whoosh,
More importantly,
his consciousness followed
they
his
looked at the
strand of
rings in
spiritual
Luo
force and
Qingtong's
entered the
hands.
10-directional
That
dragon
was
ring. A
the black ring on the ring
spiritual
finger of his
artifact.
left hand suddenly shone
Heavens!
brightly and emitted
The
a
group of
lustrous
people
light.
almost couldn't
At the
stand
same time,
still.
a
Eastern
martial
border
king
country.
expert even supported
Wind-Gay
himself
City.
on the wall beside
Luo
him.
Qingtong had finished refining all the medicinal liquids
Chapter
needed by the Luo clan's
341.
Iron Army.
She
Luo
was
Qingtong's voice rang
indescribably
out.
tired and fell
You can
asleep
choose
as soon
any
as she
one of these
returned.
items. Little Pig
This
was
is your
tossed out
reward
of
for
her
following
sleeve.
me.
It
Also,
snorted a few times
as she
and
spoke,
also fell
she
asleep
tossed the
next to her.
storage rings in her
It
hand
was
to
already
them.
sleeping
Take
soundly
these
when
storage
Luo
rings as well.
Qingtong was refining
Don't
medicine.
show them to anyone.
Now that it was on the bed,
There are many
it was
resources
even
in the
more
Nine
snoring.
Magi Mountain.
The master and
You
pet
can
were
take
sleeping
them all.
soundly. But
With
they
these
didn't
few
notice
Martial
that the
King
9
realm
phoenix
experts,
ring on Luo
they could do
Qingtong's
whatever they
hand
wanted in
suddenly
the Nine
flashed.
Magi Mountain,
A faint,
except for some of the
fiery
more
red
dangerous
light
forbidden
flashed and
areas.
disappeared.
With these storage rings,
Where
they
is
could take
this?
whatever resources they
Luo
wanted in the
Qingtong
Nine
was in a
Magi
daze
Mountain.
when she discovered that she
Luo
had appeared in a
Qingtong
strange
wanted to turn the
space.
Nine Magi
It was a
Mountain
vast
into her
expanse
personal
of
treasure
white all
trove of
around.
resources.
It was as
In
if
the
she was
future,
stepping
when
on
the Luo
air.
family's
Where
Iron
is
Army had
this?
fully recovered,
Is this a
or
dream?
even reached a higher
But
level,
why did she have
Luo
such a strange
Qingtong
dream?
would bring them to the Nine
Shouldn't
Magi
it be a
Mountain for
better
training.
dream?
In the
For
future,
example,
the
some
resources of the
delicious
Luo
food, a
family
handsome
and the
man.
Heavenly Evil Valley would
Luo
all be
Qingtong
provided
had
by the
just thought
Nine
of this when
Magi
a mist
Mountain.
in front of her suddenly
They would no
dispersed,
longer need to
revealing a
depend
black
on
figure.
others. The man
Luo
was
dressed
dressed
in
in
a
a
pure
pure
black
black robe
robe
with
with
thought of
golden
how old
edges.
Master Luo had
The
been
outer
mocked and
robe was
ridiculed
casually
every
draped
time he
over
went
his
to the
body,
Tianyu Empire to buy
revealing a pure
resources for
white
the
inner
Eastern
robe
Fence
and a
Army.
slightly open
If not
chest.
for that, she
His
would not
long
have been
hair,
so
which
cruel
was like
to
the
the Eastern
Eastern
Fence Army,
seemed to be dripping
those
with
people
water
had
as it
really
draped
let
over
down
the man's
old
back,
Master Luo's
reaching
previous
his
efforts.
ankles.
The
Adding
water on the
insult to
surface had
injury,
dyed his heavy
being
robe and made it
ungrateful.
stick to his body.
All of these were enough
It made
for
the
Luo
man's body look
Qingtong to
even more
torture them to
slender,
death.
and his skin was
Since
as white
they did
as
not
jade.
want to be humans
That
and only
perfect
wanted to
face
be
that
dogs,
angered both men
then
and
they would
gods
be
was now
useless
looking
dogs.
indifferently in the direction of Luo
Master,
Qingtong. All
women.
of these were given
Yi
to them.
Qianxian
The
narrowed
group
his
of
eyes
Martial
and
King
spoke in a
realm
low
experts
voice.
almost thought that
Oh
they
my
had
God.
heard wrongly.
Looking at the
The
man in
master
front
said
of her,
that they could choose
Luo
any one of these
Qingtong
treasures.
almost subconsciously
She
turned
even
around
said
to
that
run.
she would give all
Seeing
of these
her
Sumeru
actions,
space
Yi
spiritual
Qianren,
weapons to
who
them.
was originally
The group
quite
of
happy
people
to see
took the
her,
storage rings that
suddenly
Luo
had a heavy
Qingtong
expression on
tossed
her
to them in
face.
shock. Was this real? Chapter
Was this a dream?
331. The group of people imprinted their
This
mental
dream is
strength
so
on the storage
realistic.
rings as if they were
Except for
sleepwalking.
the clothes I'm wearing.
Then, they were
Isn't
shocked
this the
by the
first time
space
that
of a
man
few
tried to
hundred
grab
square
me?
meters. Luo
This was a
Qingtong
Sumeru
said as she
space
threw
ring.
herself into Yi Qianxian's
They
arms
stared
with
at
the
the
storage
smile.
rings in their
The
hands
latter
as if
was
they had
stunned.
seen a ghost. Before he could
Such a
react,
huge Sumeru
she had
space
already
ring.
thrown herself into his
If
arms.
any one of these rings were
Woman,
to
you.
spread, it would
Yi
cause an
Qianxian
incomparably
retracted his
huge
hand.
wave.
Just as he was
Now, the
about to
few of
say
them,
something, his
each had
body
one.
suddenly stiffened.
No matter how
Luo
strong and calm
Qingtong
they
was
were,
touching his
they
body.
couldn't help but pinch their own thighs.
The feeling of your body
After
is
that,
exactly the
they
same
were
as a
shocked
real
to discover
person.
that it was
Are
actually
all
true.
dreams so realistic
God.
now?
Normally,
Yi Qianxian
these
was
Martial
touched by
King
her
realm
until his
experts would
entire
not be
body
able
was
to come
hot
into
and dry.
contact with Sumeru
He was so
spatial
stiff that he
spiritual
couldn't
tools.
speak. But Luo
His body was
Qingtong gave them
transformed
such
from
a
a
precious
wisp of his
Sumeru
soul
spatial spiritual
through the connection
tool.
of the
dragon and phoenix ring.
Master,
He came to
What
this
was her
consciousness
background?
space opened up by
And
the
these
9
treasures?
Netherworld Phoenix ring. The group
It
of
could be
Martial
said
King
that
realm
Luo
experts looked at the
touching
rings in
him
their
now
hands
was equivalent to
and then
touching
looked at the
him.
treasures in the cave.
Woman, have you always been
In their
so
hearts,
bold and
they were
unrestrained?
even more in awe
Yi
of Luo
Qianxian
Qingtong.
grabbed Luo Qingtong's
Master,
hand that
don't
was constantly
worry.
touching
We
his
will
body.
definitely protect these
His
rings.
voice was hoarse as
Even
he
if
looked
we
at
lose
her
our
with deep
lives.
eyes.
This
This woman had previously avoided him like a snake
or a scorpion.
A Martial King
Why
expert
did she
said
suddenly
with a
become
trembling
so
voice.
enthusiastic?
He
Yi
held the ring as
Qianxian
if
was
it was
very
a rare
uncomfortable
treasure.
with Luo Qingtong's hot
that's
and cold
not
attitude.
necessary.
Luo
No,
Qingtong's
I'm
voice
only
was
bold and
indifferent.
unrestrained
If you
towards you.
accidentally expose
Luo
yourself and are
Qingtong blinked
targeted
her
by
eyes and
others,
said,
you can destroy
"Sure
this
enough,
storage ring.
this was a dream.
Returning safely
This man
is
would
more
actually
important.
ask her
such a question.
How interesting." Chapter
She thought as she hooked her
342.
neck closer to the
Luo
man and blew
Qingtong.
into his ear.
These storage
What's
rings were
wrong?
nothing more than
Lord
scraps
doesn't
left over
like
from
it?
Tian Mingxi's
Facing
previous
a dangerous
refinement.
man in reality,
Little Pig still
Luo
had a lot of
Qingtong
them.
naturally kept
More
a respectful
importantly,
distance.
she would definitely
But in a
practice the
dream,
inscription
it was
technique in the
different.
future.
This man
As
was
such,
under her control.
These storage rings
Of
were
course,
naturally not
she
that
could
important.
tease him however she
However,
wanted.
she still
How
had
could
too
Luo
few
Qingtong
experts
let
under her
go of
command.
such a high-quality
It
man?
would be best if
In
these
fact,
Martial King
if Yi
experts did not
Qianxian
die.
wasn't too dangerous,
As for the
in
storage
reality,
rings,
she
it was
wouldn't
no
let him
big
go
deal
either.
if they were destroyed.
The young lady's
Just
sweet
as Little
fragrance
Pig
seemed
had
to
said,
spread rapidly
these
towards
items
his
might
ears
be
with that
rare
breath.
treasures and
It was
priceless in the
clearly a
eyes of
dream.
others.
But Yi
However, to
Qianxian
her,
seemed to smell the
they were
nothing
scent on
more
her
than
body.
scraps that were slightly useful. He tightened
Luo
his grip on her
Qingtong was
hand
more
and his
interested
eyes
in the
were
real
indescribably
Sumeru's facial
deep.
spiritual
In the
tool
next
that Little
second,
Pig had
in
described.
front of Luo
As for
Qingtong's
these
widened
scraps,
eyes,
she did
he
not really
suddenly
care
pressed
about
her
them.
to the ground.
Mistress,
You want to touch
the group
me?
of martial
Come
king
back to the
experts were
black field with
indescribably
me.
moved. You can touch
Who
me
would dare to
however
say
you
that
want.
their lives were more
His
important
eyes
than
were
these
gloomy as
priceless
he looked at the young
rings?
girl who was like
Their
a
mistress
blossoming
truly
peach
valued
blossom
and
beneath
cherished
him.
them too much.
He looked at her mouth
If
that
they
was
had
slightly
pledged their
open due
loyalty
to
to
shock,
Luo
and her
Qingtong
eyes
in the
that were
past,
wide open.
it was partly because
He
they
was
were forced to
obviously such
acknowledge
an evil
evil and wanton
Qingtong as their
person.
mistress.
But in this
And partly
moment of
because of
surprise,
Luo Qingtong's strange
he
methods and
inexplicably gave people
extraordinary
a very
abilities.
lovable feeling.
But now,
However,
they were sincerely
Yi Chen
submitting
knew
to her
that
from
all
the
of this
bottom
was
of their
just an
hearts.
illusion.
They were
As
willing
long
to
as
do
this woman was
anything
given
for
a
Luo
chance,
Qingtong
she
until
would
she
be
no
able to
longer
turn the
needed
world
them.
upside down.
We are willing
He
to
had never
die for
seen such a
mistress.
tormenting woman.
The group of
but
people
he
suddenly
was
knelt
deeply
on the
trapped
ground.
inside.
Tell me
Luo
your real
Qingtong
name,
replied
woman.
in a low voice.
He
She
gently
then waved
nibbled
her
on the
sleeve
young
and
girl's
said,
delicate lips.
"That's enough."
His low
There's
and
no
hoarse
need to
voice
say
was
such
like a
sentimental
demon's coaxing.
words. Tell me
one
where you
item
are,
from
your
here.
real identity.
I will prepare to seal the
This
treasury.
woman clearly liked him.
Luo Qingtong naturally had to separate the inner and outer vaults like the royal treasury in this huge cave vault. And this woman's hands were moving up and down his 9 shaman's mountain, which meant that she wasn't completely indifferent to resources from the imperial treasury. As if she was interfering with each other could also serve as a cover. Luo Qingtong opened her mouth. Only Luo Qingtong could enter the inner vault. Chapter 332. Yes. The group of people calmed down and Qian's entire body seemed to be locked up by invisible chains. They began to pick out what they wanted from the pile of items. Luo Qingtong, after they had all finished choosing countless white clouds, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pushed him under her body. Layers and layers of array lights lit up. This is my little gift to you. Luo Qingtong used the treasures in the royal treasury as array cores and set up layers and layers of arrays, which was already beautiful to begin with, compared to the overlapping and independent formation she had set up. The formations and mechanisms in the Qianyu royal treasury were child's play. This kind of beauty, the formations that Luo Qingtong had laid down were almost double-stacked formations, like even triple-stacked formations and quadruple-stacked formations. Yi Qian's 4 limbs were imprisoned by the invisible chains that extended from the surrounding white clouds, extremely difficult to solve, and he could only let the girl push him down. This woman, if it weren't for the limited space in the cave by her pretense of being well-behaved and royal treasury could only support up to the 5th layer, Yi Qian's heart was filled with a burst of anger. To stack up. He was angry that he always unconsciously let down his guard when facing this woman. He was also angry that this woman always thought of ways to avoid him. She could always find the most appropriate point. Face was dark, swoosh, but Luo Qingtong's face was indescribably smiling like a flower. Luo Qingtong began to take inventory of the items inside, and was prepared to see if there were any antidotes she needed. After all, she couldn't provoke this man in reality, but couldn't she be impudent in a dream? But after the man pushed her down and said those words, perhaps she could find them. She instantly became vigilant. Luo Qingtong originally suspected that the 9 phoenix ring wasn't an ordinary ring. Bang. And it was very likely that it was an extremely precious item on Yi Qian's body. In a secluded room in the corner of the Qianyu branch of the Empire of Qin, then the connection between the 2 rings couldn't be one-sided. In her hands to the ground. In other words, this man could use this ring to restrain her. Why are you always so lucky? She could also use this ring to restrain him. Luo Qingtong's face was ferocious. The connection between these 2 rings should be scattered veil. They should affect each other. Like it was torn by a ferocious beast. Now it seemed that she had guessed correctly. From her left cheek to her right cheek. Just now, she was being pressed down by Yi Qian and was completely destroyed by Luo Qingtong's beautiful face. Now, her face was twisted with anger. Like that of a ferocious ghost. Luo Qingtong smiled and leaned over to kiss the man's thin lips. Luo Xining her smile was indescribably evil. This scar was caused by the encounter with a ferocious beast for the eyes. After she was rescued by the imperial family of Qianyu. Originally, but when she thought of this man's boundless strength in reality brought by the imperial family of Qianyu, instantly withered, and her injuries were already healed. It was impossible for her to not be able to fight back against the rank 3 ferocious beast. She turned over and sat on Yi Qian's body. Just as she was about to lightly stroke the man's chest, the power in her body suddenly stagnated and disappeared in an instant. Why are you chasing after me so relentlessly? How could she be distracted in a battle? I've done some bad things, not to mention that all her power had disappeared. She could not resist at all, and was sent flying by the brown earth bear. Eastern Border's Black City, half of her face was smashed, and the Qianyu Empire. Even though she had taken the medicine in time, let's forget that incident. It still left a deep scar. Touching the scar on her face, too. Luo Xining's heart was filled with hatred. When there's an end of it, she always showed that she was not inferior to Luo Qingtong. What do I have to do to stop you from catching me? Other than her talent and strength being stronger than Luo Qingtong, she was really not as good as Luo Qingtong, especially when the girl's fingers occasionally brushed against a sensitive spot. That she was originally proud of had been destroyed. What exactly does she want? She thought that the Luo family would fall this time, and Luo Qingtong would become a pitiful person without the family's protection. Luo Qingtong looked at him from the corner of her residence that she was so proud of. His handsome face was even darker from anger, but he was still shockingly handsome. Her carefully planned plan with the imperial family of Qianyu to take over the army was completely destroyed. Chapter 333. Not only was the army destroyed, she licked her lips and said with a smile, also took some people to the Luo family to build a private army. Paying attention. Everything made Luo Xining angry and frustrated. I'll be the unlucky one. She had schemed so much and even ordered her father to drug the old man and make him lose his cultivation. Luo Qingtong but she still could not defeat the entire Luo family. She would never let go of Yi Qian. That woman. What's more, why did she have a better life than anyone who didn't want food delivered to their doorstep? Because they were both daughters of the Luo family. It was good for men to be like this. Even God was on her side. Luo Qingtong liked the way he was being suppressed by her so much that he gave her the Luo family's trump card. Only the current Yi Qian she would not have lost so badly. Prey that completely belonged to her. Luo Xining felt as though her heart was being bitten by countless ants. She couldn't touch the real Yi Qian feeling of unwillingness and resentment let go of this Yi Qian. Evil eye you. But what she hated the most was that she could not do anything to Luo Qingtong. The veins on his forehead even the only hope that the imperial family of Dongli could defeat the Luo family didn't know what words to use to describe Luo Qingtong. Had so easily crushed everything that she had spent so much effort to obtain into powder. He had ever met. Just as Luo Xingning was filled with hatred, just as Yi Qianren was angered by Luo Qingtong until his face turned black. After reading the lady's voice suddenly rang out. Luo Xingning was overjoyed. Luo Qingtong leaned over and whispered into his ear. She enunciated every word clearly. 344. My name is Luo Xingning's smile was cold. This is my real name. The royal family of Tianyu had finally made a move. This is my only name that is deeply engraved in my soul. The 7th princess and the empress had finally was raised by a beggar in her previous life. Troop of tiger guards. What kind of culture could a beggar have? Hundreds of people. Luo Qingtong was picked up by him on the 7th of December. Of them were in the martial lord realm. She took the beggar's surname. The leader was the younger brother of the empress of Tianyu. Luo Qingtong was the name she changed after she became famous. He was the young genius of the Fei family and the pride of the Fei family. Warm memory. He was at the peak of the martial king realm and let those who hated her curse at her. Soon reach the martial royal realm. Those people who hated her called her evil eye. To kill a chicken for such a troop to deal with the marquee mansion of an inferior country. So she gave herself the name. How could the Luo family survive? Didn't they say that she was evil? Luo Qingtong. She wanted to clear it. This is what you get for being so arrogant. Temperament was so evil. Luo Xingning sneered. Luo Qi. The power of the empire of Tianyu was not something that was immediately extinguished by this name. For example, Luo Qingtong might not have known, from the empire of Tianyu was enough to wipe out the small and middle countries. Completely abandoned by even their family superior countries had to avoid them. Instead, what could Luo Qingtong and the Luo family use to fight against them? He thought about how he had been looking for the other party for so long, but still couldn't find tiger guards. With the other party's strength and ability, after I strip you of your identity as the 5th prince's wife, there was only one possibility. I'll wait for you to suffer so much that you wish you were dead. So she needed to hide and cover herself everywhere. Said with a sinister smile on her face. Yi Qianxian's heart suddenly ached for Luo Qingtong. He wasn't so angry that Luo Qingtong was always hiding from him. How about I turn the show into a reality for you? From now on, death on this Lord will protect you. You won't be so lucky this time. Bully her again. Luo Xingning sneered and threw the other letter in her hand. Heart inexplicably skipped a beat. An attendant rushed in from the outside of Dongli Palace. Face of the man beneath Your Majesty, great news. She didn't know why. The royal family of Tianyu has replied. But Luo wants us to be prepared. Up and down at Yi Qianxian's royal family has already sent out a group of savage tiger guards. A sly smile. When the time comes, they'll quietly kill the Luo clan. You know how to use such words to deceive me. The Luo family will be leftovers from my games. Good. King Dongli's gloomy face finally brightened up after reading the letter from his close attendant. As she spoke, immediately send people to the meeting point and provide them with all the convenience. We've been waiting for them for so long, so get ready to attack. Dongli King wanted to eradicate the Luo family for a long time. Master. But because of the marriage agreement between the other party and the royal family of Tianyu, Yi Qianxian's mind was drawn out from the 10 directions dragon ring. Endure it. Leaving only a wisp of his soul inside. Would be so foolish as to offend the royal family of Tianyu. He said in a low voice, and cancel the engagement for the sake of his beloved granddaughter. Waiting outside walked in. He had given them a chance to uproot them for no reason. The person in charge of the intelligence building was eradicated. Master. No one in the Eastern Fence didn't have the frivolous and enchanting appearance that he had in front of others. Instead, he stood without the Eastern Border Army, the Eastern Border royal family would still be the strongest ruler of the Eastern Border country. He no longer had the disgusting from the Lanue family to constantly suppress him and make him feel the young master of the Lanue family. King Dongli had been waiting for this day for a long time. As While Luo Xingning and Dongli King were busy, that Yi Qianxian had asked him to investigate 7 antidotes. After the young master returned from 9 Magus Mountain, looked at the 7 antidotes in her hand and smiled. The Lanue family kept this matter a secret because they were afraid that the people there would cause trouble. She had found all 7 antidotes in one go, and there were even more. And when they went to Eastern Fence Nation's Blackfield Branch City, the young master also went with them. If I'm not mistaken, 345. The poison in the young master's body should have been cured where the heaven and earth dragon soul herb was placed. As Fei spoke of Luo Qingtong, remembered the strange old man who gave for the heaven and earth dragon soul herb. He understood that his master had feelings for this evil doctor. Thinking of the strange words he said to her before he left, the medical skills that Luo Qingtong had displayed were truly amazing. She opened her eyes wide when she saw what she saw. The young master's body had been cured by the Blackfield in front of Luo Qingtong, but almost no one had been able to cure it. Although Elder Yuelao could cure the young master, it would take far too long to guarantee that the young master would be completely unharmed. A letter of recommendation? But the herbs required were not something that could be found in the Truce Bill and found nothing on it except for the words, he naturally had no intention of doing anything.
But after a trip
the
to
material
9
of the name
Mountain,
card seemed
the
to be
young
very
master was
special.
suddenly healed and
Luo
could even
Qingtong
cultivate.
poured her strength into
The
it
young
and
master's
found that
matter
matter is still being kept a secret.
Why did the old man
I'm
give me
afraid
a
that it will
letter of
only be revealed to the
recommendation
public
from
after the
Academy
Tianyu
of the
Empires. The
Qin?
Empire of Qin
Luo
branch city
Qingtong
looked at the purple name card
The
and found
Lanyu
it
family
funny.
wants to use
She
this
thought
method
it was
to push the
something
young
special.
master onto the stage.
She didn't
so that the
expect
people
it
there
to be a
won't dare
letter
to
of
act
recommendation
rashly.
from the Holy Academy.
However, this recommendation
letter
letter
seemed to be
different
different
from the one that the
This
original
news was
owner had
useless
received
to him.
before.
If it were
Luo
before he discovered that
looked at
Luo
the purple letter
Qingtong
of
was evil
recommendation
doctor
from the
Ghost
Holy
Eye,
Academy,
he might have been
she
happy.
could enter the Holy
But
Academy
now
of
it
the
was
Empire of
completely
Qin
useless.
by herself.
But this matter
She
was
didn't
related
need
to
this
that
at all.
woman. But
Thinking about the little
maybe
boy's
this
true
thing could be
identity,
used for an
Yi Qianren
unexpected
frowned
purpose.
and ordered Xueqi.
Luo Qingtong
Have someone
thought.
keep an eye on the Lanyu
Suddenly,
family.
an idea
Report
came
to
to
me
her
if
mind.
there are any strange
the corners of her
movements.
lips curled up
That
slightly
little
as she
Shota's
put away the
identity
purple
was
name
not
card.
ordinary.
Let's
The
make
Lanyu
elixirs
family
first.
might not have sent out
Luo
such a grand
Qingtong's
invitation
treatment
for
was about to be
express their
finished.
gratitude.
Then she needed to improve her
sect.
strength quickly. Of the
For
heavens.
people who had abandoned
If
their
that was the
cultivation
case,
and started
that
over
woman
again,
might be
their
involved in the
experience
dispute.
and comprehension was
Since he
still
said
there.
that he would protect
As long
that
as they
woman,
had enough
then
strength
he
in their
would
body,
definitely protect
they could
her.
continue to improve
Perhaps
and
through the
recover their
Lanyu
previous
family.
strength.
He might
At
be
that
able to
time,
capture that
it would
cunning
be up
woman
to them
to make
with
further
her temperament.
breakthroughs. If she
The
saved
medicinal
that young
pills
master,
that Luo
she didn't
Qingtong
owe him
wanted
a
to
favor.
prepare this time
She
could not
must
be
have hit it
replaced
off
by
with
medicinal
him.
liquids.
Since she had
Compared
given him
to
her name in
medicinal
advance,
liquids,
she
after
would
medicinal
definitely
herbs were
appear when she
refined into
received
pills,
the news.
their medicinal
He only
properties were
needed to
preserved
send
more
someone to
completely,
wait for her.
and the medicinal
Yes.
properties were condensed more
Xueqi
firmly.
answered and left.
More importantly, alchemy could draw in the power of the
Chapter
heavens and the earth,
335.
and under the support of that
Whoosh.
power,
Yi
the effect of the
Qianqian's
pill would undergo a
consciousness
great
returned to
change.
that wisp of soul.
Luo Qingtong's
His
dough
body was
technique
still
could
bound by the
completely
chains,
remove the
but
impurities
that
in the
evil and
medicinal
hateful
liquid,
woman was no longer
achieving
in
the
the space of
100%
consciousness.
medicinal effect that
Luo
only medicinal
Qingtong had
pills
already
could
mastered
achieve.
how to use the
However,
9 netherworld
the
phoenix
medicinal
ring,
liquid
so
wouldn't
Yi
undergo
Qianqian
any
couldn't
changes
use the
like
Shifang
medicinal
dragon ring
pills.
to restrain her.
Alchemy and
If he
medicine
hadn't
refinement
wrapped the
were
9
two
netherworldly
completely
phoenix
different
ring
things.
with a ball of energy
Only
in
after
advance,
refining medicine
he
to
might
the
have even
extreme
lost
would
her
one
position.
begin to concoct
Thinking
pills.
of this, the veins on Yi Qianqian's forehead popped again.
It could be said that the
he
end
pulled his
point of an
consciousness
alchemist
out of
was
the
the
10
starting point
directional
of an
dragon ring
alchemist.
and found
Luo
Xueqi again.
Qingtong's eye technique
Spread a
allowed
net
her to
throughout the
completely
sovereign's
ignore this step
territory
and
to
directly
find a person
start
called
refining
Luo
pills.
Qi.
This
Regardless
was an
of
advantage
gender,
that others
do
could
this
not
in
compare
secret
to.
and don't leak
Half
the
a
news.
tail of sunflower wood.
Otherwise,
3
with that
tails of
woman's
oblivion
craftiness,
sea flower.
she would run away
Luo
without a
Qingtong
trace.
added the medicinal
Although Yi
herbs according to the
Qianqian
formula.
doubted whether this was
What she
Luo
wanted to
Qingtong's real
refine for
name,
Luo Qingtong
that woman
and
didn't
the
look
others
like she
were the
was faking
essence
it.
increasing
So
pill
he
and
might
the
as well
enlightenment
give it a
spirit
try.
pill.
Yes.
If these two pills were taken
Xueqi
together,
answered.
they would be able
Luo
to
Qi,
restore Luo
why was this
Qingtong
name
and the
so
others'
strange?
wasted cultivation
Could it
as
be
soon
the
as
name
possible,
of the evil doctor?
allowing them to return to their
Xueqi
peace.
looked at his master's
Luo
dark face
Qingtong
and
wouldn't allow
tactfully
Luo
didn't ask.
Qingtong and the others
Master
to spend
must have been
another few
defeated by
dozen
the
years
demonic
slowly
doctor
cultivating their strength.
Xueqi
These
thought
two
and glanced
elixirs
at
were
the
created
Shifang
by
dragon
Luo
ring on Yi
Qingtong
Qianqian's
based on the
left ring
situation
finger.
of old Master
He
Luo
suddenly
and the
coughed
rest.
lightly and said,
There were no rare
"Actually,
alchemy
Master,
recipes or
women
manuals
like
in the
to hear
true
sweet
Spill
words.
continent. Master,
Everything
you can
depended
try.
on Luo Qingtong's
Every
own
time Master was
exploration.
angered by the evil
Fortunately,
doctor,
she
they,
had
as
her dough
subordinates,
technique.
were also anxious.
As long as she used the
If
right
this went
medicine,
on,
there
when
should
would Master
be a
be able
problem.
to win the beauty's
Little Pig
heart?
stared dumbfoundedly
And
at
the
Luo
evil doctor
Qingtong,
wasn't an
who was
ordinary
busy
person.
adding the herbs and controlling
Sweet
the fire.
words?
He was
Hearing
so
his
shocked.
words,
This
Yi
woman was
Qianren
actually
frowned.
refining
He
pills.
thought about how he and
Alchemy.
Luo Qingtong
What
would protect
couldn't
her.
she do? But in the end, that woman still lied to him and even bit him on the lips. Thinking
Chapter
of this,
346.
Yi Qianqian's face instantly darkened. The triangular
This
furnace in
sovereign
front
said
of
I would
Luo
protect her,
Qingtong was
but
blown
she
to
bit me.
smithereens.
As Yi
A
Qianqian
boundless
spoke,
energy rushed
he
out from the
unconsciously
furnace.
raised his hand
If
to
it
touch
weren't
his
for
lips,
Luo Qingtong
that
and little
woman
pig
was
running
really
fast, but
For
they would
some
have been
reason,
caught in the
Yi
blast.
Qianxian didn't feel angry at being bitten
Looking
at all.
at the shattered
He only
cauldron,
felt a faint
little
pain in
pig
the
was
place where he
finally
was bitten,
satisfied.
mixed with a slight
So
numbness.
there are things you don't know.
The soul fragment
I
was
thought
connected
you
to the
really
main
knew
body.
everything.
So when Yi Qianxian's
Little
soul
pig
fragment was
laughed
bitten,
mischievously.
his main body also
Then I'm
felt
a
it.
monster. He was really
Luo
poisoned by
Qingtong
that
rolled
woman.
her eyes at little
Yi
pig.
Qianqian's heart
What's so
was filled
great
with
about it?
hatred. She would soon
someone else
find
dared
out.
to do this.
At the
He
moment
would
of
have
the
long been
explosion,
torn to pieces.
Luo Qingtong's
However,
technique quickly
that
saw
woman
the
treated
changes in
his
the fusion
dignity as
between the
nothing.
medicinal properties
She
and the
kissed him
world's
whenever
power.
she wanted and
She
nibbled
saw
on
where
him
she
whenever she
failed.
wanted.
She would
She was
remember to
clearly
avoid
avoiding
this
him
place
like
later.
something.
Yet
However,
she was bearing her
alchemy
fangs
was
and
really
brandishing her
magical.
claws in places
Compared
where he
to
couldn't
alchemy,
catch her.
it was a
He
completely
really
different
wanted to catch her
experience.
and teach her a
The
good
fusion
lesson.
between the medicinal
Thinking of
properties
this,
and the
Yi
world's power
Qianya's
was
face
simply
turned
ever
even darker.
changing.
Cough,
If the
cough,
medicinal
cough.
properties were just a little bit
Yi
off,
Qianxian's
or if the
words
medicinal
caused
properties
Xuefei
were
to
just a
cough
little bit off,
violently.
there would immediately be a
It
mutation.
can't be, right? Luo Qingtong was in high
So
spirits.
explosive?
This world
But
was
his
really
master
worth
had already
exploring.
confessed.
The
How
alchemy
could the
book
evil
she had
doctor be so
memorized in her
indifferent?
previous life
That's
actually
not
came
possible.
in handy.
He stole
really
a glance
incredible.
at Yi Qianxian's darkened face and asked carefully,
"There's only one
Master,
furnace left.
did you say something at the
Luo
wrong time?"
Qingtong frowned
When
as
he
she
said
looked at the
this,
room that was
Yi
full of holes
Qianxian
because of her
instantly thought of the
explosion.
time when he was
The
pinned
furnace
down
she
by
used
Luo
for alchemy
Qingtong
was taken from
what
the royal
should he
treasury
say?
of Tianyu's
Should
royal
he say
family.
that he was careless
There was
and fell
almost
into
no
that woman's
alchemist
trap?
in true Spill
Seeing
continent.
his master's face
Those
suddenly
furnaces
change,
were mostly used
Xueqi's
as
heart was filled
decorations.
with alarm.
Tianyu's
He
royal
quickly
family
found an
also
excuse to
collected
leave
some,
and ran away.
and most of them were
Oh my
rare
God.
treasures.
If he
At
was
this
any
moment,
later, he
Luo
might end up
Qingtong's
like
left
that
and
idiot
right
Bei
were about to
Qing.
explode.
But what exactly did the evil doctor do to make his master so angry?
It
She
would
was
be
really
best if she could
something.
buy a high-quality furnace.
It would be great
Chapter
if she could find a
336.
furnace that specialized
At the
in
same
alchemy.
time,
The
Luo
awesome Luo
Qingtong thought
Qingtong
as she
had just woken
continued.
up from her dream.
After several
She was
experiments,
lying on the bed,
she had found a
hugging
way.
her blanket and
She
laughing
didn't dare to say
mischievously.
anything about the other
Yi
pills,
Qianxian's
but for
appearance
these
was
two
simply
pills,
too amusing.
she was already
If it wasn't
80%
for him
sure that she
suddenly
could
pulling
refine
his
them.
attention away,
While Luo
Qingtong was
Qingtong would have
refining
wanted
pills
to
in the
play for a
heavenly
while
evil
longer.
longer.
It was
Outside
rare
Eastern
to have the
nations
opportunity
Wingate
to
City,
tease that man
a
without
group
him
of
being
people
able
traveled
to
day and
resist.
night and finally arrived at a
If
dense
she had
forest
known that this
outside
man was
Wingate
so
City.
terrifyingly strong,
His Majesty
she would have
has
taken
sent me to
advantage of him a
receive
few
you.
more times
This
when she
must be
first
King
met him.
Xiaowu,
Unfortunately,
King
it was hard to
Xiaowu
buy
was
that
indeed
with
a man of
1,000
striking
gold
appearance.
coins.
With
Moreover,
King Xiaowu's
that
help,
man at that
the
time
Luo
was
clan
also
will
not to
definitely be
trifled
wiped
with.
out this time.
Luo Qingtong
The personal
recalled Yi
attendant sent
Qianxian's
by King
incomparably
Dongli
cold
said
with
with
a
a flattering
flattering
gaze
smile.
at that time.
As the
She
Empress's maternal
immediately
family,
squinted her eyes
the
and
Fei
laughed
family
again.
had great
She
influence
liked
in
to
the
tease
Tianyu
large
Empire.
carnivores.
The man in front of her
men
was the
as strong
only brother
as
of Empress
Qianxian,
Tianyu and was highly
Unfortunately,
valued by the
the
Fei
other
clan.
party's strength
If
was
he could
simply
become
too
a martial
strong.
emperor in the
Every
future,
time,
she had to
future
put in
would
a
be
lot of
limitless.
effort to tease him. Moreover, that man's
Even the
improvement
emperor
was
of too
Tianyu
fast,
thought highly
right?
of Fiji.
Today,
Cut the
he
crap.
actually knew how to
When
use
are we
sweet
going to
words
attack?
to corrode her heart.
Fiji's voice was
Fortunately,
cold. She wasn't the kind
His
of person
face was
who would be
hidden under
charmed
the
by
armor
men
and could not be
if she
seen
really let
clearly.
that man go.
However,
Perhaps the
his
control
tone
of
was
that
extremely
consciousness base would be
impatient.
taken away again.
A dignified peak
She wasn't
Marshal
going
King
to
was
fall
sent
for
to deal
it.
with the Marquis
Thinking
of a small
this,
inferior
Luo
country.
Qingtong laughed
If it
again.
wasn't for his sister's
However,
request,
that man's
he would never have
sweet-talking
taken
skills were pretty
action.
good.
The Luo
She
clan
almost
was
believed
not
that
worthy of him
sentence.
taking action.
No one had ever
It was
said that they
truly
would
a
protect
stain
her
on
in
his
front of
hands.
her.
It
As
wasn't
for the
that
people
no
of
one said it,
Easternly nation,
but that some
he
people
didn't
wanted
even
to say
bother
it.
to look at
But
them.
they were much weaker
These
than
people
her.
didn't even
As
have
for
the
those people who were
qualifications to
stronger
stand in
than
front
her.
of him.
King
Luo
Qingtong
Please
supported
wait
her
a
forehead
moment.
with her hand
My
and
Majesty
carefully thought
is
about
making
it.
the arrangements.
She realized that
We
there
will
weren't
attack
many
tonight.
of them. At that
Of
time,
course,
the gates of
this was
Wingate
referring
City
to
will
her
be open
previous
and the
life.
aristocratic families, armies,
Why are you laughing
and even
so
the royal
happily by
family will be
yourself?
restrained. Little
King
Pig was
Xiaowu
still in
can
a
go on a
daze from
killing
his sleep.
spree.
He was
No one will
almost
stop
suffocated
you.
by Luo Qingtong's action of rolling around in the blanket. With great difficulty,
Chapter
he crawled out from the
347.
blanket.
Tonight
When he
at
saw
midnight,
Luo Qingtong's smiling
Fiji
face,
raised his head and
he suddenly
glanced at the
shuddered.
servant.
What's
He
wrong
scoffed
with this
at the
woman?
Dongli royal
His
family's
appearance
intentions.
was so horrifying.
If he remembered correctly,
What's with that
the
expression?
Tianyu branch of the Empire
Luo
of Qin would be
Qingtong glared
recruiting
at Little
students
Pig's
in 2
horrified
days.
expression and
Were they
flicked its
afraid that
nose.
something would happen
Get up.
and the Luo
You
family
only
would be
know how to
protected by the
eat,
Tianyu
drink,
branch
and sleep all day?
Was that why
and
they
you're
wanted
still
to
talking
act
about
first?
the ancient divine
Indeed,
pig?
if
No
Luo
matter how
Qingtong
ancient
really
you
became
are,
a student of
you
the
are still
Tianyu
a
branch,
pig.
the Luo
You're
family wouldn't be
insulting my
easy to deal
divine
with.
pig's reputation.
What's more, they
Little
were
Pig
acting
jumped
in
up in
secret.
anger.
Therefore,
Was he to blame
even
it
though
for
Fiji
not having
saw
the
through
chance to
Dongli
display
royal
its family's
strength,
intentions?
it was
He
clear
didn't
that this
say
woman was
anything.
too inhuman.
Tonight is the
He
time
would
of the
kill
Z
any
period.
expert that
The
came.
sooner they acted,
If another one
the better.
came,
He
would
would
save
save
them
them
to
the
death
trouble
again.
of waiting.
How could there be such
He
a
raised his
weirdo
hand
like
and
her?
waved.
If it
And
were
the eunuch
anyone else,
tactfully retreated.
they would have long
King
prostrated
Xiaowu
themselves
wasn't
in
someone
worship.
they could casually
Humph.
interact with. Furthermore,
Luo
he
Qingtong
obviously
snorted
wasn't
and
interested in
ignored it.
talking to them.
This pig
so they
only
couldn't
knew
knew
how
how
to
to twist
him.
words and
At
force
the
logic.
same time,
In the
however,
heavenly evil valley,
Luo Qingtong
Luo
could feel that
Qingtong
Little Pig
opened
was
her
much
eyes and
stronger
looked at
than
the
when she
pile of
first
herbs
met
in the
him.
cauldron.
It should
She
slowly
was
grow along
extremely
with her
focused.
strength.
If
A
it
large
wasn't for
amount
the
of
fact that
power
he
of
still
heaven
had some
and
youth,
was
guided into the
Luo
cauldron
Qingtong
and
would have
fused with
thrown
the
him into the
medicinal power.
demon-subduing
This
pagoda long
process was
ago.
called medicinal
All right,
fusion.
let's go.
The next
next
She
step
stood
was
up
to
and
fuse
said
the
to
little
pills.
pig. Luo
Where are we
Qingtong had
going?
failed several
Little
times
Pig
in the
looked
past.
at her and asked.
The power of heaven and
9
earth
shaman
would react
mountain.
violently with the medicinal
Luo
power,
Qingtong
causing
narrowed
the
her
medicinal
eyes.
power to mutate
It was time
instantly.
for her to tidy up
It
the
would have a
items in the
completely
Tianyu
different
imperial
effect from the
family's
previous
treasury.
herbs.
Previously,
If one had to
she
accurately
hadn't
describe
had
the
the
time to do
process.
so.
It was like
You
those
guys
chemical
stay in the
experiments where
Luo
2 different
residence.
substances were
I
mixed
won't
together
see
to form a
anyone when I'm
completely
not
new and
around.
different substance.
Kill all
However,
trespassers
the
without
synthesis
mercy.
of substances
Do
in
you
chemical
understand?
experiments was controllable,
Luo
but
Qingtong
alchemy was
instructed the
completely
group of battle
uncontrollable.
slave experts
If the
before
power
she
of
left.
heaven and earth was introduced
Yes,
into the same
the
herbs,
group of battle
the pill
slaves
would be ruined
answered.
if the timing was slightly wrong.
Even the most experienced alchemist couldn't produce a 100% success rate.
We got the news that Luo Qingtong has left the Luo family.
A different amount of medicinal power.
In the Dongli
when they
Palace,
fused together,
Prince Chang is reporting to Dongli King
with
a
vicious face.
Furthermore,
at this moment,
the power of heaven
his
and earth
face
was
is full of
introduced into the
hatred.
fusion.
When Prince
it was
Chang
basically
returns,
impossible to predict the most crucial point.
Fallen into Luo
when
Qingtong's
was the best
trap.
time to fuse the
He
pills?
thought he wouldn't be poisoned by Luo Qingtong's unknown wanted to break
on the
this
platform.
rule.
The light in her eyes was constantly focused on the ball of medicinal power that was violently fusing with the power of heaven and earth to produce a mutation.
Countless numbers floated up and down, really vicious, flashing past her eyes. That day in the 3 army camp,
next second,
only she and the people she took away will be fine.
Following her low shout,
the other party
the ball
is
of
vicious
medicinal
to this
power
extent.
suddenly combined
this
into
made
one.
Prince Chang,
at the same
who
time,
previously thought
the
that
power
Luo
of heaven and
Qingtong
earth
was
not
not
enough
enough
to
to
support
support
the
the
Luo
Luo was
family.
also cut off.
Shudder in his heart.
Whoosh.
Fortunately,
At this moment,
a
Luo
thick pill
Qingtong's
aroma
strength
filled
is
the air.
average. Because of the broken engagement, she offended the royal family of
Luo
Tianyu. Qingtong looked at this scene with a smile.
Is worried. After several
this
failures,
is not their family
she finally
against
grasped
them.
the most optimal value of the
Qingtong
mixture
did
of
those
medicinal
things.
power
no
and
matter
heaven
how
and earth
arrogant
energy,
she is,
what
can
was
she
also
do?
the key point of
It
forming
can only
the pill.
alleviate the
From
Luo
now
family's
on,
predicament
she would
for
never
a while
fail to
until the
refine
royal
these two
family of
pills.
Tianyu makes a move.
No way.
They can only
Did you
wait
really
for bad
succeed?
luck. Prince Chang
Little
hates
Pig
Luo
widened his
Qingtong in
eyes
his
at the
heart,
side.
but on the
What a
surface,
freak.
he tries to hide it so that Dongli King won't see
Previously,
it had rejoiced
Your
in Luo
Majesty,
Qingtong's
this is a
furnace
rare
explosion,
opportunity.
thinking that there was
Are you
finally
stupid
something
or
in
am
this
I
world that
stupid?
she couldn't do.
Before the royal
But then,
family of
it
Tianyu
realized
says
that this
anything,
woman was really
you
dare
crazy.
to touch her. She
Don't
actually
forget,
refined 2
you
types
one
of
will
pills
marry
at the
no
same
one but
time.
her.
Who the hell
Dongli
dares
King
to refine
scolds.
2 types of
This
pills
is
at
what
the same
he and the
time
other
on their
people who
first
want to
try?
hit the Luo family when they are
It
down
would
are
be
most
strange
afraid
if
of.
the cauldron
Even
didn't
the Emperor of
explode.
Tianyu can't
Forget
win
about
against
it.
you Wanma.
How long
He
has
would
it
rather
been?
be slapped in the face than
She
break the
actually
engagement with
succeeded
the
in
Luo
refining
family.
it. Do they really
She's
dare to
refining
touch
2
Luo
types of
Qingtong
pills
at the same
If
time?
not for this,
Even
an
an
alchemy
10,000
master
reasons
wouldn't
to
dare
destroy
to do
her
this.
and the Luo family just based on Luo Qingtong's action of crippling the 3 armies. How can they bear
Chapter
such
348.
humiliation? But
Rumble.
Cheng
Between
Lu
the heavens
Wangya's
and the
face
earth,
was full of unwillingness.
countless winds and clouds
Dongli
gathered
King
towards
ignored
the
him
9
and
shaman
asked his
servant.
servant,
Is it certain that the news has
CK?
reached the imperial
It can't
family
be,
of
right?
Tianyu?
Yes. She awakened the pill
Furthermore,
spirit on her
it was
first
passed
try.
to the 7th princess.
Little Pig
The
really
attendant
admired Luo
replied,
Qingtong from the
"Very
bottom of his
good."
heart when he sensed
King
the
Dong
gathering
Li
of
nodded
auras
with
outside.
satisfaction.
Refining
Luo
pills was
Qingtong.
completely different
Oh,
from
Luo
refining
Qingtong.
pills.
Don't
When
be so
refining pills,
arrogant.
no matter
How
how
dare
hard
you
one tried to
embarrass the
fuse
royal
them,
family?
the medicinal
How much
properties would
courage
fuse
do you
with
think
each
you
other.
have?
It was
When
impossible
Tianyu's
to trigger
royal
the
family
energy
makes
of
a
heaven
move.
and earth. Let's see if
Let
you can
alone
still
cause
be so
any
arrogant.
changes.
More
King
importantly,
Dongli's face was
refining
cold.
pills was
If it
similar
weren't
to
for Luo
cultivation.
Qingtong,
It would
the
attract
Eastern
the
Fence 3
interference
armies
of the
would have
laws of
become his
heaven
trump
and
card.
earth. The
Because
Luo
refining
family was
pills
about to
involve the
fall,
changes of the
but
laws of
Luo
heaven and earth.
Qingtong was still
Some
so
pills would even
insensible.
develop their own
Then don't
consciousness
blame
due
him
to the
for
high
being
grade of the
ruthless.
materials used to refine
Originally,
them.
at that
He only
time,
wanted the
it would
3
attract
armies
the
of the
interference
eastern
of the
fence
heavens.
lines.
But
Cultivation
Luo
was a
Qingtong
path
forced
that
him to
defied
destroy
the
the
heavens.
entire Luo clan. Refining pills was the same. The higher the grade of the
Chapter
pill, the
338.
greater the obstruction it would
Mother.
face from the heavens.
Tianyu
Imperial
Pig
Palace
really didn't expect that
Seventh
Luo
Princess
Qingtong's first
Yuan
attempt at
rushed to the
refining
Tianyu
pills would
Empress
attract the
residence with a
interference
group
of the heavens.
The
This
latter
was the
had
kind
just
of
woken
treatment
up
that
from
could
her
only be
afternoon
received
nap
by
and
a
was being
pill that had
served
its
by
spirit
servants.
awakened.
Seeing
Generally,
Yu and Xue
the
rush in
pills
from
refined
outside,
by
she
alchemists
immediately
were only
frowned
of
and
common
scolded.
grade.
Look
After
at you,
mixing
what
the
kind of
medicinal
person are
properties
you?
with the energy of
Do
heaven
you
and
want
earth,
to be grounded
it
by
would
your
be
father
considered
again?
good if they could retain 20
Mother.
to 30% of the medicinal properties.
Yu and Xue reluctantly
Only 50 to
slowed down
60%
and
of
walked
the
to the front of the
medicinal
Tianyu
properties would
Empress
attract
with
the
an aggrieved
interference of the
expression.
heavens.
What's the
70
matter?
to 80%
What's
of the
made you
medicinal
so
properties would
anxious?
attract a heaven and
The
earth
Tianyu
phenomenon.
Empress looked at her. Just as Little
Isn't it
Pig was
because of
thinking
that?
about this,
Yuan
countless
Xue was
phoenixes
about to
and
blurt
dragons'
out when she
cries
saw
could
the
be heard
servants by her
outside.
mother's side and
Under the
stopped.
backdrop of the stormy
Enough.
clouds,
You can
the
leave.
sky was filled
I
with
don't need
dazzling
you to serve me
multicolored
here.
light.
Seeing her like this,
CK,
the Tianyu Empress dismissed the servants by her side, leaving only 2 of her trusted
Little
aides
Pig
to
was
serve her.
dumbfounded.
All
He
right,
didn't know what
go
to
ahead
say.
and say it. A heaven and
What's
earth
going on
phenomenon.
now?
And
it was the
Tianyu
highest
Empress
grade
rubbed her
pill.
forehead and
Dragon
looked at
and
Yuan
Phoenix
Xue.
suspicious.
The
It's all
medicinal
because of
pills
that
refined
Luo
by this woman.
Qingtong.
Just
Yuan
what level
Xue
had the
pouted.
medicinal strength of
Mother,
the pills
look,
retained?
this is news from Dongli's royal family.
We said
Little
we were
Pig
going to
felt
teach
his
the Luo
stomach
clan
ache.
and that old man
This was
Luo
the
a
first
lesson
time
and
he
make
saw
them
someone
regret
using
breaking off
such
the
low-grade
engagement.
medicinal materials
look,
to refine a pill
Luo
that attracted the
Qingtong messed
interference of the
everything
heavens
up.
and heaven and earth
Yu
phenomenon.
Wanxue showed the Luo
Qianyu
Empress
Qingtong
the news from
ignored him.
Dongli's royal
Rumble.
family. Wind and
Mother,
thunder rumbled
we can't
outside,
let the Luo clan
and the
and
cries
Luo
of
Qingtong
dragons and
off so
phoenixes
easily.
resounded. Look at her,
She
she's
suddenly
too
felt that the
arrogant.
pill in her cauldron
On
had
one
suddenly
hand,
changed.
she wants to break
and the
off the
value of the
engagement
pill's
with us.
potency
But
skyrocketed.
on the other,
She's
in the
using
next
her status
second,
as Qianyu's
swish,
future fifth
the
prince's
lid
wife
of the
to act
cauldron
so
was suddenly
arrogantly
opened,
outside, and a few
Look,
pills rushed
this is
out
too
of it.
much of a slap to
Crack.
our royal family's face. Who does Luo
Following the
Qingtong think
appearance of
she
those
is?
medicinal pellets,
Mother, we
several
can't
bolts
let
of
this
lightning
go.
as thick as an arm
Otherwise,
descended from the sky
Luo
and struck
Qingtong
those
will think that
medicinal
our royal
pellets.
family is
The
willing to
cave
compromise,
Luo
and
Qingtong
only
was
one
in
was
her.
completely
She'll
split
climb
open.
all over
The
us.
lightning bolt
She
struck
might
towards
even
the
think
pills.
that my royal brother
Stop
isn't good
them.
enough for her. Little Pig panicked when
She
he saw
wouldn't
this
dare.
scene.
Yu
They're here to
Shui's
destroy
words hit
these
the point that
pills.
Empress Tianyu
Also,
cared about
be
the most.
careful.
These
Tianyu
medicinal
was
pills
most
will
proud
run
of the
away.
fact that she had given
How could
birth
little
to
Pig
Yu
have
and
imagined that Luo
a proud
Qingtong
son of
could
heaven.
actually use
The
such low-grade
Empire of
ingredients
Qin's
to
sacred
refine a
academy had defeated
spirit-opening
many
pill?
geniuses
It
from
was
other
simply
empires,
inconceivable.
and even many
This
geniuses
pill
from the Empire
definitely
of Qin's
surpassed the
sacred
category
dynasty
of
were no
common
match for
grade.
him.
He
They
didn't
were
know
all
how
willing to
Luo
work for
Qingtong
him.
did it.
It was said
But
that
in the
Yu
next
and Mo's
second,
development in
it
the holy
regretted
court of
saying
the
the wrong
Empire of
thing.
Qin was extremely good.
This is the
He had
heavenly
already
law.
gained a foothold
It
among the
actually
heaven-ranked
asked Luo
candidates and was
Qingtong to
highly
stop
regarded
them.
by the teachers
This
of the
wasn't
holy
before
court.
it was sealed.
Every time the Empress of Tianyu gathered with the noble ladies,
I was wrong.
she would brag
Come
about her
back
son
quickly.
and enjoy the
Don't stop
admiration of
them.
everyone.
Little Pig
How could he
stomped his
tolerate
hooves
Yu
and
and
shouted
saying that
anxiously.
Yu and Mo wasn't
He also
worthy of
rushed
Luo
out with a
Qingtong?
swish.
In her
At this
opinion,
time,
Luo
Qingtong
was
had
the one who
already
was
arrived
clinging
in
onto
front
her
of those
son.
medicinal pellets.
With
If
a
not
swish,
for that engagement
she
back
raised her
then,
hand and
coupled
grabbed
with
those
Yuan Ma's
medicinal
resolute
pellets.
refusal to break
Then,
off the
she
engagement
raised
and
her
give
head
up on
and
Luo
faced the lightning
Qingtong.
bolts. How could the
She
other
could
party
feel
be
the
able to
vast
secure
and
the position
powerful
of the
energy
future
coming
fifth
from the
prince's
lightning
wife?
bolts.
How many
It was
people
even
wanted
stronger
to
than
marry
the
her
energy
son?
of the
Sage realm
Even with that
expert she had
person's
felt
status,
before.
she still
Luo
favored Yu and
Qingtong cursed
Mo.
Little Pig
Luo
800 times
Qingtong
in her
had caused
heart.
her son to be unable to have a meteoric
Little
rise.
Pig also rushed
And
over
now
at this
she was
time
slapping
and
her
shouted at
royal
her,
family's face
"Throw
again and
away
again.
those medicinal
Who
pellets
gave
in
her
your
the
hands."
guts?
In an instant, the Empress of Tianyu was enraged by Yu Shui's words.
Chapter 349.
She felt
Chapter
waves of energy
339.
coming from the life and death
She's
sword
really
in her mind.
shameless. It
She
seemed like
incited
it
her
wanted to come
grandfather to
out.
break off the
Luo
engagement and
Qingtong sensed
disregarded
the
our
energy
imperial
waves and
family's
found
dignity.
it was indeed restless.
She even dares to
It was
use our
targeting the
imperial
heavenly
family's
Tao's
prestige
energy.
to act arrogantly.
Luo Qingtong thought
Send
for
a
a moment
message
and
and
raised her
Dongli's
hand to
imperial
release it.
family.
Swoosh.
Tianyu's
The
imperial
life and
family
death
doesn't
sword
instantly
instantly
shone
shone
brightly
brightly
with black and white
as long
light.
as Luo Qingtong doesn't die.
held the
They
sword
can
and
do whatever
slashed
they
at the
want with the
lightning that was
Luo
striking
clan.
down from the sky.
It doesn't matter if they're destroyed.
CK.
Forget it.
Don't.
Yuan
Little
Shuai
Pig's
curled
eyes
her
widened
lips.
when he saw this scene.
Imperial Mother,
Even if this
you
woman
didn't
wants
see
to
it
die,
clearly.
she shouldn't
Those
do it
trash
like
from
this.
Dongli's imperial
The heavenly
family were
Tao's
crippled by
energy was
Luo
not something
Qingtong.
she could contend
She
against.
even brought a group of people
Don't be
back
so
to the Luo
stubborn
clan
at a
to
time
form
like
a private
this.
army.
Little Pig
Now,
had to
if
hand
you
it
let
to
them
Luo
attack the Luo
Qingtong.
clan,
I
seeing
don't
her
know if they
rushing
can
towards
win.
the lightning bolts,
They might be
Little
destroyed
Pig
by the
felt an
Luo clan
indescribable
instead.
pain in his heart.
Speaking of this,
Let's fight.
Yuan Shuai
What
felt
sin have I
uncommitted
committed
to have met such a
Luo
perverted
Qingtong
master
was
who
too
doesn't
lucky.
play by the rules.
Even without grandfather
Since Luo
Luo,
Qingtong
the
would
Luo
die if she
clan
died,
still had so many
Little
trump
Pig
cards
rushed
to protect
towards
her.
Luo Qingtong
Where did
without
the
any
poison that
hesitation.
crippled the Luo clan's
he
army
rushed,
come from?
his small
Most
body
likely,
emitted a faint
her mother
light.
left it for her.
However, before it could
Thinking of
reach
this,
Luo Qingtong,
Yuan Shuai
Luo
felt resentful.
Qingtong
Was stunned.
Even as a princess of the
Gotcha.
royal family,
The lightning bolts
she
that
did not
carried
enjoy the
boundless
treatment
power
of
were
being
instantly
surrounded
cut
like
in
Luo
half by Luo
Qingtong.
Qingtong's
Her
sword.
grandfather
In the
doted
next
on her.
second,
Her
they
parents loved
disappeared
her,
under
and she had
everyone's
so many
shocked
trump
gazes.
cards.
That's
Her
right.
imperial
They
brother still
disappeared.
insisted on marrying
Everyone
her.
was dumbfounded
She
by
gained
this
such
scene.
a powerful backer
Little
for
Pig
no
had just
reason.
arrived in front of
Even
Luo
if the Luo
Qingtong,
clan was no
and
longer
before he could use
glorious,
his trump
they
card,
could still
he
act
saw that
arrogantly.
everything was over.
Thinking of this,
Luo Qingtong
she felt
floated to the
unconvinced.
ground.
How could the
Rumble.
legitimate daughter
The
of a
dark
marquis of a
clouds in the
small
sky
inferior
rolled.
country have a
After
better
the
life
lightning
than her?
bolts were
An
scattered,
imperial
they
princess.
also disappeared.
She was going to
In the blink of
destroy
an eye,
everything
the
she
sky
had.
was restored
If
to
it
its
wasn't for
previous
Luo
clear and bright
Qingtong,
state.
her imperial brother
Master,
would have agreed to
the
that
experts
person's
who had been
condition.
stunned for a long
She
time
could have been treated as a
finally
princess
regained
of a
their
holy
senses
dynasty
and
and
hurriedly
lived
rushed
prouder
towards
than
Luo
any other
Qingtong.
imperial princess.
They still didn't know
It was
what had
all
happened.
Luo Qingtong's
She
fault.
only saw the lightning
Yuan
strike
Shuai
towards her
didn't
master,
dare to blame
and then
Yuan
it was
Ma.
smashed into pieces
Naturally,
by her
she
master's
vented all her
backhand.
anger on Luo
That was heavenly
Qingtong and the
thunder
Luo
and
clan.
lightning.
The group of
Imperial
people
Mother,
looked at Luo
how about
Qingtong
this?
with shock and
We
awe.
secretly send
They
out a
did not
group of
know the
savage
true power
tiger
of the
guards to
lightning,
disguise
nor
themselves
did
as
they know
bandits
that it was
and
not
directly
something that
destroy the
ordinary
Luo
people
clan.
could resist.
Yu Wenxue
His
shook
master's
the
ability was
Empress's arm.
truly unfathomable.
Imperial Mother,
Little Pig was
look
the
at
most
those people
shocked of
from
all.
Dongli. It rubbed
Their
its eyes
trash
with
from
its
a small
hooves and blinked
inferior
hard to
country.
make sure it wasn't
What can they
dreaming.
do?
Don't send them to
*CK.
Luo Qingtong again
It stared
and increase the
dumbfoundedly
Luo
at Luo
clan's
Qingtong,
prestige.
who was
Imperial
completely
Mother,
unscathed. If we do this,
it didn't know what
then
to
it'll
say.
be more and more difficult
How could
to
she
deal with
resist
Luo
the power of
Qingtong?
the heavenly law?
After all,
Was
although
this woman
old
trying
Master
to
Luo
ascend
has
to
fallen,
heaven? The Luo family
however,
has not.
only Luo
Now,
Qingtong
she
knew
has
that
the
those
Luo
lightning
family's
bolts were not
iron
destroyed
army.
by her.
In the future,
Instead,
she'll
they
really
were
give us a
absorbed
look
by the
face.
life and death dual right
Especially
sword in her
Imperial
hand.
Brother won't.
Luo Qingtong lowered her head
Yu
and looked at the
Wenxue's
black and
mother.
white sword in her hand.
Imperial Mother, we have to take this opportunity to knock down her arrogance. Let her know that even if Imperial Brother doesn't want to marry anyone
Chapter
but her,
350.
she is nothing in front of us.
How much do
you know about inscriptions? Luo Qingtong looked at Little Pig and asked. After this experience, Luo Qingtong was obviously more interested in inscriptions.
The inscriptions on the life and death sword could absorb heavenly energy to replenish itself. Moreover, this was an incomplete inscription. If the inscriptions were complete, how powerful would the life and death sword be? Luo Qingtong was very excited about this. Was it because of that sword that you shattered those lightning bolts? Little Pig immediately reacted when he heard Luo Qingtong's question. How could this woman be so powerful? She could even shatter heavenly energy in a matter of minutes. Then she would truly be a monster. So it was because of that sword. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded. It absorbed those lightning bolts. Are inscriptions really that powerful? Of course. Little Pig nodded. You haven't come into contact with inscriptions yet. Of course, I don't know much about it either. But inscriptions are really powerful. I told you before that making spatial spiritual tools is just a small path. Do you know? When you become proficient in inscriptions, you can learn how to make spatial spiritual tools. It's not a storage space, but a real spiritual tool for killing. Little Pig said, a spatial spiritual tool can use the power of space to kill the opponent. It can shatter space and strangle space. Think about how powerful it is. Even if a powerful inscription master's cultivation talent is average and his strength is weak, with his powerful inscription technique, no one dares to bully him. Not to mention the various uses of inscriptions. There are elixir inscriptions, weapon inscriptions, human inscriptions. Little Pig listed out all kinds of benefits to Luo Qingtong. If inscriptions are engraved on elixirs, they can increase the elixir's efficacy. If inscriptions are engraved on spiritual tools, they can increase the power of those spiritual tools. If inscriptions are engraved on a human body, they can increase the human's ability in all aspects. Do you think inscriptions are powerful or not? Then why didn't you mention it before? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at Little Pig. If inscriptions were so powerful, why didn't this pig encourage her to learn them? This was not like it. This pig could not wait to show off whenever it had something good. Just look at those useless rings it had taken out before. I want to say it too. Little Pig was depressed by her question. However, that old geezer Tian Mingzi is the supreme master of this Tao. I've flipped through all the books he left for you, but there's no basic foundation. Otherwise, how could it resist showing off? That was because there was no chance. No wonder that damned old man was so excited after knowing that Luo Qingtong's talent in alchemy was astonishing, and wanted to pass his mantle to her no matter what. Besides himself, there was probably another reason, and it was that if he passed down the Tao of inscriptions to others, it would absolutely be lost in a matter of minutes. There wasn't even an introductory manual, so how was anyone supposed to learn it? However, it also knew that it couldn't blame Tian Mingzi. Their sect was already standing at the pinnacle of the Tao of inscriptions. Those introductory manuals couldn't be stored in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. It only thought of this when it escaped with all its might, but it was already too late. Otherwise, why would it cling on to Luo Qingtong, this life-saving straw? If it wanted to pass on its mantle, it could even give up on revenge. Luo Qingtong was also speechless by Little Pig's words. At this moment, she felt a movement in her palm. Only then did she remember that she still had a few medicinal pills in her hand. These medicinal pills can be taken back for Grandpa to consume. Luo Qingtong chuckled when she felt the medicinal pills moving restlessly in her palm. Then, she sealed them in a medicine bottle. Let's go. I'll refine some more and then go back. As for the matter of inscriptions, let's talk about it later. Chapter 351. Dongli Nation. Wind Gaze City. Old Master Chu wore a worried look. Recalling what the king had said to them today, he couldn't sit still. Tonight, the people assigned to the defense of the 4 gates should withdraw. No matter what you hear, the guards are not to move. In addition, all of you noble houses must restrain your subordinates. No matter what happens in this city, it has nothing to do with you. Do you understand? No one is to leave without permission. Dongli King's expression was fierce. Tianyu's empress had sent the ferocious Tiger Guard to eliminate the Luo clan. This was a great opportunity for him. He wouldn't allow anyone to stop him. Many of these noble houses were on good terms with the Luo clan.
His warning was for them to consider their options and not go down the wrong path. Otherwise, they couldn't blame him for settling the score later. If he could eliminate the Luo clan, would he be afraid of eliminating a few more noble houses? Yes, your majesty. The patriarchs of the aristocratic families were all frightened by his words. They didn't know what was going to happen tonight. They had a bad feeling about it. As for old Master Chu, his heart was in turmoil when he saw Dongli King's gaze on him. If he guessed correctly, what happened tonight was most likely related to the Luo clan. Was the king preparing to make a move on the Luo clan? Old Master Luo had worked hard for Dongli Nation for half his life, using the Luo clan's resources to supplement the nation's fortunes time and time again. With the marriage agreement between the Luo clan and Tianyu's imperial family, the neighboring nations didn't dare invade Dongli Nation. Now that the king saw the Luo clan in trouble, not only did he want to kick them while they were down, he even wanted to exterminate them? Destroy the entire Luo clan? But Luo Qingtong still had an engagement with Tianyu's imperial family. As long as the two clans didn't break off the engagement, the king wouldn't dare make a move on the Luo clan. Suddenly, old Master Chu thought of a possibility as the color drained from his face. Did Tianyu's imperial family make a move themselves? With this thought in mind, old Master Chu's heart sank. If that was the case, then the Luo clan would be doomed this time. But, for the sake of face, the royal family of Tianyu would definitely hide their actions and find a reason to do so. Therefore, they couldn't act in the name of Tianyu's imperial family. If he wanted to help the Luo family, there was still a chance. As long as he doesn't listen to his majesty. But, was it worth it? For the Luo family, was it worth sacrificing the entire Chu family? Old Master Chu's heart burned with anxiety. He paced back and forth in the hall as scenes flashed through his mind. He and old Master Luo had quarreled for half of their lives, but they both admired each other's character. Although he didn't get along with old Luo, he had heard people talking about him. Old Luo told others that he was an upright and tough man who wasn't afraid of the Luo family's reputation. Old man Luo, your life isn't worth it. Old Master Chu couldn't help but cry when he thought of this. Both of them were devoted to the country, but the royal family didn't care about them. Without the lips, the teeth would feel cold. Old Master Chu didn't know if the Chu family would be next after the Luo family. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth and summoned his son. Send someone to keep an eye on the Luo clan. If there's any movement, report it immediately. Yes, father. Although he was surprised, the latter obeyed and left. Old Master Chu sighed heavily as he watched his son's departing figure. Chapter 352. It was midnight. The bright moon hung high in the sky. The clouds in the sky gathered and dissipated, surrounding and cutting the moonlight into various shapes. In the middle of the night, there was no sound at all. Clop clop clop. The muffled sound of hooves suddenly rang out from the east gate of Windgaze City. But the guards acted as if they didn't hear anything. The east gate was wide open. Fiji led a group of disguised ferocious tiger guards through the gate. Pfft! Fiji sneered when he saw that there was no one around. No one on the street came out to look at the muffled sound of hooves. The Duke of Dongli really couldn't wait to destroy the Luo clan. He really had everything planned out. Just as well, he wanted to end this as soon as possible. Let's go. After identifying the direction, Fiji waved his hand and led his men in the direction of the Luo clan. Today was the day the Luo clan would be destroyed. Clang! Dark night, sword light, moon, and murderous intent. At the same time, the Chu clan members who had been keeping an eye on the Luo clan gasped when they saw the ferocious tiger guards charging towards the Luo clan. They hurried back to report. Father, the Luo clan is in trouble. The eldest son of the Chu clan said hurriedly. In the main hall of the Chu clan, old Master Chu suddenly stood up. Quick! Gather the men. We're going to the Luo clan. Beat the drums and gongs along the way and wake everyone up. If the imperial family of Tianyu was involved, the Chu clan wouldn't be able to do anything. But if the entire city was alarmed, the imperial family would have to retreat if they didn't want to tarnish their reputation. That way, the Luo clan would be safe. But just as the Chu clan's men were gathered, there was a commotion outside the door. Chung Lu Wangya's face was gloomy as he led the imperial guards to surround the entire Chu family. It's late and the dew is heavy. Where is Marquis Ding going?
Humph. That old thing. I knew he was up to no good.
He helped the Luo clan before, and now he's going to ruin our plans. But he didn't know that they had their eyes on him. His Majesty's words were not only an order, but also a warning. Who would have thought that he would really move? This old fart wanted to follow in the footsteps of the Luo clan, right? Cheng Lu Wangye's eyes were cold. It's already late at night. Marquis Ding should stay at home. It's midnight and 100 ghosts are traveling at night. Don't be careless and bump into anything. That would be bad. His words were ruthless and meaningful. How could old Master Chu not understand? As expected, Tianyu's royal family made a move. His Majesty, on the other hand, had always been on guard against him helping the Luo family. He had long sent people to guard the Chu residence. This time, the Luo clan was really doomed. Old Master Chu slumped into his chair. At the same time, bang! The door of the Luo residence was kicked open.
Fiji's eyes were cold, and the face hidden under the armor was full of murderous intent.
He waved his hand fiercely. Kill! Except for Luo Qingtong, the entire Luo clan will be wiped out. At the same time, in the Heavenly Evil Valley, Luo Qingtong had just finished refining the pills needed by the Luo clan's Iron Army. She slightly changed the time of refining the pills so that the medicinal power in the pills wouldn't be so strong. Thus, it didn't attract the interference of the Heavenly Tao. She put away the pills and prepared to refine the antidote for her poison. At this time, whoosh! Chapter 353. Whoosh! The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes was sharp. She raised her head abruptly. Grandfather! Luo Qingtong's voice was cold.
In the next second, her figure suddenly rushed out of the room and stood on the tallest tree in the valley.
Cloud-piercing arrow. Before Luo Qingtong left, she gave it to the battle slave experts to ignite in case of an emergency. A crisis that could make a group of martial lord realm battle slave experts unable to deal with. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes was piercingly cold. Everyone from Evil Valley, follow me back to Wind Gaze City. As she spoke, she raised her hand and released the spirit ship from the waist ring. Whoosh! The moment Luo Qingtong spoke, the people from Evil Valley had already gathered from all directions. Seeing the spirit ship, they were not surprised. Their master could even take out a Sumeru spatial artifact of several hundred square meters. What was a spirit ship? But they did not know why their master wanted to go to Wind Gaze City. But since it was Luo Qingtong's order, they naturally would not disobey. The group boarded the spirit ship one after another.
With a wave of Luo Qingtong's hand, the spirit ship suddenly soared and flew straight in the direction of Wind Gaze City.
On the other hand, Luo Qingtong took out a Luo Sha mask and put it on herself. Her bright red dress was also changed into men's clothing. It was still a fiery red, but this time it represented the bloodlust of Azura Purgatory. Those who dared to touch the Luo family and her grandfather were courting death. At the same time in the Luo family, Fiji rushed in with his people and felt something was wrong. Who are you? The people who rushed out in front were all at the martial lord realm. When did the Luo family have such strong strength? Among them, there were even peak martial lord experts. Looking at these people blocking his way, Fiji's face was indescribably cold. The Luo family actually hid such power in private. No wonder Luo Qingtong dared to be so arrogant in Dongli country. It was said that she relied on her status as the future wife of Tianyu's fifth prince, but now it seemed that it was because of the Luo clan's strength. The Luo family had really hidden themselves well. If it wasn't for his sister's request for him to come in order to conceal their actions, he was afraid that this group of Mang Tiger Guards wouldn't have returned. But now, Fiji sneered. What tyrannical strength!
In front of him, all of them were useless.
Kill! The few of you, go find Grandpa Luo and kill him.
Leave these people to me, he ordered coldly.
Yes.
A few of his trusted aides answered and prepared to leave. However, before they could make a move, rays of light from a formation lit up above the Luo residence, suddenly enveloping them.
Rumble! The array formation's light intertwined and reflected the attacks of Fiji and the others. At the same time, powerful attacks burst out from the formation and blasted toward Fiji and the others. Damn it! There's an array formation in the Luo residence. Fiji was almost injured by his own attack.
Just as he steadied himself, he saw one attack after another mixed with the attacks of the martial Lord Realm experts, rushing towards him and the others.
The attacks of the array formation were so powerful that he didn't dare to take them head-on. He could only dodge them. At this time, outside the Luo residence, Luo Xining, with a veil covering her face, stood in the dark and watched the array formation light up above the Luo residence. She gritted her teeth in anger. Spiritual Array Master. Last time, she almost died in the Luo residence because of the array formation light. But now... Chapter 354. Boom! A black object was thrown out by her. It was the heavenly lightning seed that Luo Xining got from Elder Chu. It was a one-time use spiritual weapon that could break arrays. The array was difficult to break from the inside, but it was much easier from the outside. Luo Xining used the ferocious tiger guards to see where the eye of the array was and threw a heavenly lightning seed over. Instantly, the eye of the array was broken. The light of the array above the Luo family became sluggish and its power was greatly reduced. It was not completely broken. Luo Xining gritted her teeth. How powerful was the Spirit Array Master protecting the Luo clan? According to Elder Chu, he only got a few heavenly lightning seeds by chance. Even an array that could trap a martial king was useless against him. This only reduced the power of the array above the Luo family. But this was enough. Seeing that Fiji and the rest had broken free from the suppression of the array, they started to fight back. Luo Xining sneered in her heart and ordered the people around her. Go! You can do whatever you want with the beautiful young lady of the Luo family. Remember, after you are done with her, scratch her face and sell her far away. I want the worst brothel to entertain the most disgusting guests. The royal family of Tianyu would not touch Luo Qingtong? She would. How could Luo Xining let Luo Qingtong go? Luo Qingtong would be in so much pain that she wished she was dead. She wanted to see if the fifth prince would still want her after her chastity was destroyed. As for the blame, the ferocious tiger guards would take it. Who would know that she was the one who did it? Luo Xining sneered. Yes. Don't worry, Miss Ning. We will do our best to get things done for you. The bandits that Luo Xining found were the most vicious and evil ones. They heard that they could get something for free and that someone would take the blame for them. They just wanted to enjoy it. How could they not agree? They rubbed their palms together and sneaked towards the Luo family. However, they did not know that they were not going to a beautiful and gentle place, but a bloody cave of bones. When they realized it, it was too late. Rumble! The power of the array in the Luo family was greatly reduced. Instantly, Fiji and the others reacted. Fiji was enraged that he was forced into such a sorry state by the array formation. He looked at those martial Marquis realm battle slave experts who were risking their lives to block in front of him, his expression extremely cold and furious. These people from the Luo family all deserve to die. Scram! With a palm strike, he sent a martial lord realm expert flying. He coldly shouted, "Everyone present, kill them all. Leave no one alive." Yes. The group of Mang Tiger Guards heard the order, and immediately rushed towards the group of battle slaves. The Mang Tiger Guards had more experts than the battle slaves. Among the 100 or so people, nearly half of them were martial Marquis experts. The battle slaves were no match for them. Go! Retreat to the old master's courtyard and guard it with your life. Don't retreat a single step. They had already sent out a whistling arrow to inform their master. Presumably, the latter would arrive soon. He couldn't let anything happen to old Master Luo. Fortunately, the Luo clan's iron guards had all been sent to the side courtyard to recuperate. Otherwise, if they were to stay here, they would not be able to take care of them and would only end up dead. The group of people retreated as they fought. At this moment, boom! Chapter 355. Old Master Luo. Seeing this scene, the eyes of all the battle slaves turned red with envy. Before their master left, he had told them that they must protect the old man well. Old Master Luo was recuperating and could not move at will. If old Master Luo was hurt by these people, how could they face their master? They might as well kill themselves one by one. Bang! The martial Marquis realm experts who were fighting with the Mang Tiger Guards did not care about their injuries. They took a hit and retreated from the battle. They rushed toward Old Master Luo's courtyard. However, it was too late. They watched helplessly as the Fijians rushed into Old Master Luo's courtyard. At this moment, bang! A blood-red figure instantly descended from the sky like a red lightning bolt in the dark night.
He appeared in front of the few trusted aides of Fiji, and lifted his leg to kick the person who was in the lead away.
In the next second, a pure black light shone. In the dark night, the pure black light was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It drew a cold and murderous arc in the air. Swoosh! In an instant, fresh blood splattered out, dyeing the dark night sky that was covered by the moonlight saber light a dark red. Kill all of them. After cutting the throats of the 2 Fiji followers who wanted to rush into Old Master Luo's room, Luo Qingtong held the death blade and stood at the door of Old Master Luo's room. The eyes on the Rakshasa ghost mask were deep and cold. Midnight. 100 ghosts parade. She was the biggest demon in the world. How dare they touch her grandfather? Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. Just a bit more and these people would have barged in. These people deserve to die. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Fiji had just mentioned these people. Now, they were all returned by Luo Qingtong. Rumble! In the sky above Grandfather Luo's courtyard, a group of figures suddenly descended. They were the people from the Evil Valley who were one step behind Luo Qingtong. The huge spirit ship stopped in the sky above the Luo family. Figures with strong auras floated down from the ship. Yes, Master. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, everyone agreed. They raised their hands and attacked the stupefied Mang Tiger Guards. The battle slaves below, who had suffered heavy casualties, were all overjoyed when they saw Luo Qingtong appear. Master! Those who are seriously injured, go and treat your wounds. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. If you can still fight, equip yourself with these. As she spoke, she raised her hand and tossed over a useless ring. Inside were the weapons and armor she picked out from Tianyu's royal treasury. These were the treasures of Tianyu's royal family for thousands of years. Every piece of these weapons and armors could make martial kings and martial emperors exclaim in surprise. But now, Luo Qingtong had easily tossed him to a group of powerful battle slaves. If he didn't reveal his identity, he would die here. The Luo clan was related to evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Moreover, the other party was so protective of him. If he had known, he would never have agreed to his sister's request to come here and exterminate the Luo clan. Fiji's heart was filled with regret. He looked at Luo Qingtong with an indescribable urgency. Fei clan. Luo Qingtong looked at him with narrowed eyes. The Empress's family? You're Yu Wenshue's uncle? Yes, yes. Evil Dr. Ghost I know Xueqi? Fiji was overjoyed when he heard this. He didn't expect Luo Qingtong to call out Yu Wenshue's name. Doesn't this mean that evil doctor knows Xueqi? In this case he should be fine. Chapter 357. Just as he was thinking about this, Luo Qingtong took off her mask. Of course I know her. Isn't my blind eyes and the Luo family's current predicament all thanks to her? Luo Qingtong, who had taken off her mask, had a sweet smile on her face. She looked at him with her empty eyes. The gorgeous, enchanting and unbridled young man was like a bloodthirsty demonic flower in the dark sky. His magnificence was astonishing, but it made Fiji's face turn pale with fright. Luo Qingtong. How could it be her? Fiji's face was full of horror and disbelief. Luo Qingtong was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. No wonder she was so protective of the Luo family. Then he and the others. With that thought in mind, he stumbled and almost fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with shock as he stared at that extremely beautiful and enchanting face. His mind was completely blank. Why are you surprised? Don't worry, there will be a bigger surprise later. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see it. Luo Qingtong's smile was bloodthirsty and enchanting. She waved her hand. Leave his body intact. I'll go to the Fei family later and give them and the Empress of Tianyu a big gift. They wanted to destroy the Luo family. If she didn't give them a gift in return, how could she be worthy of the Empress of Tianyu and Yu Wenshue's kindness? Thinking of the critical moment when she arrived, Luo Qingtong's eyes became more and more bloodthirsty. Luo Qingtong. Fiji's face was pale. He wanted to say something, but a group of Martial King realm experts rushed over. He didn't have the chance to speak anymore. Rumble. The sounds of fighting in the Luo family spread far and wide in the quiet night. In Dongli Palace, King Dongli was sitting on a couch with a relaxed expression, listening to the report from his personal servant. Your Majesty, the fighting in the Luo family has stopped. The Luo family must have been destroyed. Your Majesty can rest easy in the future. The servant said flatteringly. Oh, it's over so soon? The Tianyu Empire's Mang Tiger Guard is indeed powerful. Dongli King chuckled. The Luo clan has been annihilated, leaving behind only Luo Qingtong. There is nothing to be afraid of. From now on, the entire Dongli country will be under the control of the royal family. No one will be able to criticize my decrees anymore. His expression was ruthless. Yes, Your Majesty will no longer be bullied by the Luo clan. The attendant smiled apologetically. At this moment, a servant walked in from outside and handed over a name card. Your Majesty, the people from Tianyu Branch Academy have sent us a name card. They say that the entrance examination will be held tomorrow, and they invite Your Majesty to come personally. King Dongli raised his hand and had someone bring the invitation over. After reading it, he laughed and said, "This Luo Xining is indeed vicious. The Luo clan has just been exterminated, and she can't wait to instigate Elder Chu to change the date of the entrance examination. At that time, she will be admitted to Tianyu Branch Academy in glory, while the Luo clan will be miserable. She clearly wants the Luo clan to die with grievances." King Dongli knew that the date of the entrance examination of Tianyu Branch Academy had been set long ago. How could it be changed so easily, especially tomorrow? If it wasn't Luo Xining, who else could it be? His intentions were truly vicious. But it had nothing to do with him. He could take advantage of the great day when the Luo clan was exterminated to watch a show. Chapter 358. At the same time, Luo Xining walked out of Chu Lao's place with satisfaction. Chu Lao was very happy about the destruction of the Luo family, and had promised to change the enrollment date to the next day. Luo Qingtong, just watch me enter Tianyu Branch School. The daughter of the first wife of the Luo family used to be so high and mighty. Luo Xining was repeatedly warned that everything in the Luo family would belong to Luo Qingtong. She and Luo Qingtong were worlds apart. But now, the Luo family had been destroyed, and Luo Qingtong had probably been defiled by the people she had arranged, right? With the Mang Tiger Guards as the scapegoat, the bandits would not dare to betray her. By then, Luo Qingtong would have to spend the rest of her life in a low-class brothel. He wondered if she would be so angry that she would vomit blood when she woke up in a strange place and heard that he had been admitted to the Tianyu Branch Academy. Humph! They all say that my life is not as good as yours. Luo Qingtong, tomorrow I will prove that no matter how good your life is, it is not as good as mine. Luo Xining said as she broke the flower in her hand and went back to her room. At the same time in the Luo family, the Mang Tiger Guards who came to invade were all killed. Except for Fiji, the rest died without a complete body. Some of them wanted to beg for mercy, but Luo Qingtong did not accept it. She did not lack powerful people. She would not accept anyone who wanted to destroy the Luo family even if they knelt down. The group of people was completely wiped out, and their corpses were all thrown to feed the dogs. At the same time, a group of sneaky people was found in Luo Qingtong's courtyard. They had all sneaked into the Luo family when the array was broken. These people were the bandits that Luo Xining found. However, at this moment, these bandits who had done all kinds of evil almost fainted when they saw the powerful people around Luo Qingtong. Luo Xining asked them to play with such a person. Wasn't this pushing them into the fire pit? The group of people was furious. They quickly told Luo Xining what she wanted them to do. As he explained, he kowtowed and said that he and the others had been deceived. The group of Martial King realm experts and battle slaves were furious. Why was this Luo Xining so disgusting? The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was very deep. Oh, Luo Xining asked you to do this? She raised her hand and knocked on the armrest. Have you prepared the place and the people? Yes. The bandits answered fearfully, not knowing what Luo Qingtong wanted to do. Yes. Then prepare for it. In a few days, I will send someone to you. Just do as Luo Xining told you. Luo Qingtong smiled coldly. How could he let Luo Xianing's good intentions go to waste? She had to enjoy these painstakingly arranged things for herself. But before that, there was one more thing she had to do. Qingtongs, all of you are. Put on all the equipment. Also, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and threw the 2 elixirs that she had refined to the Martial King Realm experts and the battle slaves. Take these and go to the Fei family. Exterminate her family? Luo Qingtong looked up at the bright moon that was as big as a wheel in the sky. At this moment, the bright and clear moonlight seemed to be covered with a layer of misty blood under her gaze. Chapter 359. In the spiritual boat, a group of Martial King Realm and battle slaves took the elixirs given by Luo Qingtong. These elixirs were originally given by Luo Qingtong to the Luo family's iron soldiers who had their cultivation abolished. The Enlightenment elixir increased the power of understanding. The energy-increasing elixir increased the strength. These 2 elixirs were very good for their recovery. It was the same for the people of Evil Valley. After taking the energy-increasing elixir, those who were at the critical point of their cultivation suddenly broke through the original level. Then they took the Enlightenment elixir and broke through again. Everyone's strength broke through 1 or 2 small levels. Some talented ones even broke through 3 or 3 levels. Their overall strength had more than doubled. In addition, Luo Qingtong equipped them with weapons and armor. This group of people was not weaker than the direct descendants of the big families in the Tianyu Empire. Among them, the one who benefited the most was the expert at the peak of the Martial King Realm. Luo Qingtong gave him 2 elixirs with elixir spirit that she had refined before. It helped him break through to the Martial Royal Realm at once. Of course, it was also because his strength had reached the peak and he had touched the threshold of the Martial Royal Realm. He was half a step into the Martial Royal Realm. Luo Qingtong gently pushed him from behind, and he stepped over it directly. Master! Feeling that his strength had broken through the Martial King Realm and reached the Martial Royal Realm, the expert at the peak of the Martial King Realm was very surprised. He could not hide his excitement as he looked at Luo Qingtong. He did not know how she did it. According to common sense, even if he had touched the threshold of the Martial Royal Realm, it would take him at least several years to fully comprehend the realm of the Martial Royal Realm. But now he had stepped over it so easily. He felt like he was dreaming. The others were even more shocked and aghast. They knew that their master was powerful, but they didn't know that she was so powerful. Master, this is... The expert who had just reached the Martial Royal Realm looked at the jade bottle in his hand in a trance and asked incredulously. Elixir. Luo Qingtong's answer was concise, but it scared the group of subordinates. Elixir? The group of people looked at the jade bottles in their hands as if they were dreaming. These were elixir? The legendary elixir that was extremely precious and could only be refined by an alchemist? It was said that only one alchemist among countless pharmacists could be found. It was extremely difficult to find one. Alchemists were in the center of the imperial court of the sacred dynasties and royal family. In other places, they had never even seen a shadow of a person. They had only heard of legends. But now, everyone lowered their heads to look at the jade bottles in their hands, and a wave of dizziness washed over them. They had a bottle in their hands. Over 100 bottles of elixir was pills. They had never dared to elixir before. Master, we... The group stuttered and didn't know what to say. Medicinal pills, this kind of legendary existence, not to mention seeing them, they rarely even heard of them. Now, each of them had actually eaten a bottle? God. They didn't God Lord, they God Emperor. And Luo Qingtong turned to look at them. What? No, nothing. Looking at her indifferent expression, the group suddenly felt that they were making a fuss over nothing. But these were elixir. Not cabbages that could be found on the roadside. Master, isn't your expression a little too calm? Chapter 360. We're here. Luo Qingtong turned to look at the huge city in front of her. In this dark night, the huge imperial city of the Tianyu Empire was like a beast crawling in the dark. At this moment, the city was completely silent. Silence reigned everywhere. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept across the most conspicuous palace in the distance, and her lips curled into a smile silently. I didn't expect to be back so soon. The lesson I taught you last time wasn't enough. Empress of Tianyu, Yuan Shui, are you ready to receive the surprise I have for you? Luo Qingtong's smile grew more bloodthirsty as she spoke. Turn northwest to the Fei residence. At this moment, Patriarch Fei and his sons were still awake and discussing matters in the Fei residence. Nothing must go wrong with the hidden funds collected from various places. Send someone to check them and hand them over to the imperial family in 2 days. Otherwise, we won't be able to bear the consequences if the emperor blames us, Patriarch Fei said sternly. The hidden funds were collected from various places in the Tianyu Empire on the orders of the imperial family. The imperial family's treasury had been stolen and the imperial family had become paupers. This batch of hidden funds had been collected by the imperial family to deal with the emergency. However, this matter would damage the imperial family's reputation and couldn't be discussed openly. Therefore, the Fei family was the best choice. After all, they were from the empress's maternal family. Yes, father, don't worry. The hidden funds have been counted and we can report to the emperor tomorrow, the Fei family's sons replied. Family head Fei replied with some dissatisfaction. Jie has always been in charge of this matter and he knows best how many there are. If I knew this batch of hidden funds would arrive so quickly, I would never have agreed to let him destroy the Luo family at this time. It's just a marquee residence from a low-level country. Just send a group of people to destroy it. Why bother Jie? Don't they know if they have the guts to do so? Patriarch Fei was very dissatisfied. In his opinion, the empress was too indecisive. In this aspect, she was not as good as Xueqi.
If it was him, since he was unhappy with this marriage, he would take advantage of the fact that the fifth prince was not around to wipe out the entire Luo clan. Even if the fifth prince was dissatisfied, the matter had already been done. Could it be that he could still go against his own mother? Yet, he had to let the fifth prince do as he pleased, causing the imperial family to lose all face. As the Fei family head was speaking, he didn't know that the Luo family, which he had been talking about, had already annihilated Fiji and the others. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was already above the Fei family. As one of the top clans in the Tianyu Empire, the Fei clan occupied a large area in the Tianyu imperial city. Naturally, the target was very obvious. Luo Qingtong found the location of the Fei family without much effort. Looking down from the sky, Luo Qingtong could see that the Fei family was densely packed with all sorts of guards and sentries. In the center of the mansion, there was an array set up. Although it was very simple in Luo Qingtong's eyes, compared to other aristocratic families, this defense was considered decent. Unfortunately tonight, all of this would turn into ashes. Wait here first. Luo Qingtong instructed and jumped off the spirit ship. Earth-level spirit ships did not have the ability to conceal themselves. But this was nothing to Luo Qingtong. Chapter 361. Swoosh. Luo Qingtong landed in the vicinity of the Fei family. With a light tap of her foot, she dashed into the Fei family. Luo Qingtong's eye technique could see that the Fei family's defense was full of flaws. Luo Qingtong did not even need to hide from the patrolling guards. She followed the predetermined route and walked through the blind spots. Even if there was a group of guards diagonally opposite her, they would not be able to see her. Swoosh. Swoosh. Luo Qingtong dashed through the Fei family and easily destroyed more than half of the array in the mansion. At the same time, the colorless and odorless medicines started to spread from every key point in the mansion. 15 minutes later. Plop, plop, plop. Countless patrolling guards suddenly felt dizzy and fell to the ground. What? The guard who saw his comrade fall to the ground in front of him did not even have time to shout before he fell to the ground as well. Countless dull sounds could be heard. In just an instant, the patrolling guards fell to the ground. Fei family's main courtyard. Patriarch Fei instructed his sons and was about to let them go back to rest. At this moment, he suddenly heard a slight noise from outside. In an instant, his expression changed. Who is it? He opened the door and rushed out. His sons' faces changed slightly as well. Almost instantly, they followed behind him and rushed out. Swoosh.
Swoosh.
Just as the Fei family head and his sons rushed out, streaks of dazzling blade lights were heard from the courtyard outside. The Fei family's guards, who had lost their ability to resist and were lying on the ground, were being killed one by one. Luo Qingtong, dressed in red, stood in the middle of the courtyard of the main courtyard, looking enchanting. She was surrounded by the people from the Evil Valley, who were wearing armor and were well equipped with powerful cultivation. They were silently killing every life as if they were the servants of the Grim Reaper.
All of this happened in silence. When Patriarch Fei and his sons rushed out, more than half of the guards in the courtyard had been killed. Fortunately, there were still many guards who were resting and were not affected.
At this moment, all of them rushed out and fought with the people from the Evil Valley.
How dare you!
When Patriarch Fei stepped out and saw the scene in the courtyard, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He scolded sternly, "Where did this scoundrel come from? How dare you cause trouble in my Fei family? You must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts." Before he could finish speaking, the surroundings of the Fei family were abruptly set ablaze with a whoosh.
Bear heart and leopard guts?
Amidst the flames, the Rakshasa mask covering Luo Qingtong's face looked indescribably ferocious and terrifying. However, her chin was indescribably delicate and small, warm and smooth. The contrast between the two gave people a sense of extreme contrast between black and white, devil and Buddha. She lifted her head slightly and raised her hand. A black shadow landed heavily in front of Patriarch Fei.
"You flatter me. I'm here to deliver a gift to the Fei clan." He had come in a hurry and didn't know what to give her. "I wonder if you'll like this big gift?"
Jeer. Patriarch Fei thought that Luo Qingtong had thrown a hidden weapon at him. When he took a step back and saw clearly what had landed in front of him, he was so agitated that he almost fainted.
"Father!"
His sons behind him quickly supported him and looked at Luo Qingtong with indescribable anger.
Chapter 362.
At this moment, they had already recognized that Luo Qingtong was the evil Dr. Gui Tong.
But so what?
The other party had clearly come with ill intentions and had even killed Fiji. Since they had already become enemies, the other party's background was no longer important. What was important was that the other party must die here today. Furthermore, she must die cleanly so that the Black Field would not have any evidence to use against her. As he thought of this, the Fei family's eldest son leaped and charged towards Luo Qingtong. "You all support father. I'll kill her first." The Fei family's eldest son's expression was cold. He could tell that the evil Dr. Gui Tong was the leader of these people. Once he killed this woman, the others would naturally collapse. Most importantly, this woman's identity was too sensitive. The evil Dr. Gui Tong. Based on the other party's identity, it would only take a few minutes for them to make things difficult for the Fei family. Thinking of the endless troubles in the future, the Fei family's eldest son's gaze towards Luo Qingtong was filled with murderous intent. Since the other party had come, she could forget about leaving.
Swoosh!
The Fei family's eldest son charged towards Luo Qingtong. He was a low-level martial king and his movements were extremely swift and fierce. However, Luo Qingtong only raised her head and glanced at him. She held the long sword in her hand horizontally and used the life blade to absorb the attack and the death blade to reap the harvest. With a swoosh, the heaven battling art swept across. The Fei family's eldest son did not even have the chance to make a second move before Luo Qingtong's sword slashed open his chi gate and blood spurted out.
Eldest brother.
Seeing this scene, the Fei family's other sons instantly widened their eyes and cried out in alarm. They looked at Luo Qingtong with shock. The Fei family's eldest son was not weak, but he had died so easily. The other party was clearly only a martial general. They looked again and again and were absolutely certain of this point. Could it be that the other party was still hiding her true strength? Or was the evil Dr. Gui Tong really that evil? The Fei family's sons looked at Luo Qingtong and felt a chill in their hearts. They suddenly remembered a rumor they had heard in the past. He said that the Chung family had come to capture one of the evil doctor's subordinates. The evil doctor chased them all the way to the place where the Cheng family had stopped and killed them all. Among them, one of them had just reached the martial emperor realm. At that time, the evil doctor was only a martial master. Many people thought that this was just a rumor.
They thought so too.
But from the looks of it now, it might be true.
The other party was too strange.
Boss! Seeing the eldest son of the Fei family die in front of him, Patriarch Fei's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Bitch, I want you dead.
Chapter 363.
Boom! Master Fei sent the man who had just reached the martial royal realm flying. Then, he dashed toward Luo Qingtong like a vulture. When Luo Qingtong saw the violent power that was exuding from Master Fei's body, a crimson light flashed across her eyes. In the next second, her figure abruptly leaped into the air. Boom! Luo Qingtong held the heart of the 1,000-year soul-luring wood in her left hand. At that moment, streaks of soul energy were drawn into the heart of the tree, filling it completely. As the name suggested, the 1,000-year soul-luring wood could draw souls and absorb soul energy. When Luo Qingtong found the 1,000-year soul-luring wood, it had already gained intelligence and knew how to absorb the soul energy for its own use. At that moment, the soul energy had turned into streaks of power in the heart of the 1,000-year soul-luring wood. These streaks of power flowed into Luo Qingtong's body through Luo Qingtong's hand. How many people from the Fei family had died today? Probably not many. At that moment, these streaks of power were all channeled into Luo Qingtong's body through the 1,000-year soul-luring wood. Sky battling skill. The young girl's voice was clear and cold. It was filled with a strong sense of desolation, like the collision of metal and stone. Against the Rakshasa ghost mask on her face, she looked like a soul reaper from hell. Rumble! There was a flash of light in the sky. In the next second, a sword radiance shot out like a dragon or a phoenix. It was filled with a strong killing intent as it flew toward Master Fei. Father, be careful. Seeing this scene, the 4 sons of the Fei family head immediately cried out. Bang! The moment they shouted, Luo Qingtong's sword radiance hit Master Fei's body. Bang! The latter was sent flying, just like how the martial royal realm expert had been sent flying. He crashed into the room with great force. In an instant, the huge building in the main courtyard was smashed into pieces. Master! The Heaven Evil Valley's people were overjoyed. However, right at this moment, boom! The entire collapsed main courtyard building was suddenly shaken away, sending bricks and debris flying everywhere. Patriarch Fei's figure suddenly emerged from the ruins. Bitch! Let's see what other tricks you have. Family head Fei stood on top of the rubble, and other than the fact that his body was stained with too much mud, he was not injured at all. The robe on his body was torn apart, revealing a light green inner armor that was flickering with rays of light. The defense of a martial emperor. Master, be careful. The inner armor on his body is a treasure. On the Evil Valley side, someone recognized the function of the inner armor on Master Fei's body and immediately shouted. The defense of a martial emperor? Luo Qingtong looked at the light green inner armor that the Fei family head was wearing, and the blood-red light in her eyes turned cold. The Empress of Tianyu cared a lot about her father. She even found a treasure of this level for him. You guys go first. As she spoke, the sword radiance in her hand shot out and took the lives of the Fei family head's 4 sons. The 4 of them stood there. They had not expected Luo Qingtong to attack them at this moment, and they fell to the ground. My son! Master Fei rushed out from the ruins. When he saw the scene, his eyes turned red. Bitch, you deserve to die.
Chapter 364.
Master! They saw Master Fei rushing towards Luo Qingtong like a madman. The men from Evil Valley were about to rush forward but were stopped by Luo Qingtong. I said, all of you leave. The defense of a martial emperor meant that those who were not of the martial emperor realm would not be able to break through it. There was no point for the men from Evil Valley to stay, so they might as well leave. Most of the men from the Fei family had been killed, so there was no need for them to stay. Master! The men from Evil Valley refused to leave. Master Fei was a middle-level martial royal. Although they knew that Master was very powerful, Master's current strength was only at the great martial general realm. Although they did not see the attack clearly, they were sure that their master had used an external force to launch the attack. If family head Fei did not have that inner armor, it would have been fine. Based on the attack that Master had just unleashed, it would have definitely killed him. However, since he was wearing the martial emperor realm inner armor, what should their master do? It was too dangerous to leave her here. Master, let's leave together.
Cut the crap. My orders are to be obeyed and not questioned. Are you going to disobey my orders?
Luo Qingtong looked at them coldly with her empty eyes. Master. The men gritted their teeth.
At this moment, the injured man who had just reached the martial royal realm stepped forward. Let's go.
If we stay here, we will only cause trouble for our master.
As he spoke, he took a deep breath and looked at Luo Qingtong, saying, Master, you must be careful. As he said this, he rushed up to the huge spirit ship with a whoosh.
When the others heard what he said, they gritted their teeth and left.
Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The group of people rushed into the huge spirit ship and quickly left this place. At the same time, Luo Qingtong was facing Master Fei, who was rushing towards her like a madman.
Boom! The blood-red light in her eyes flickered, and her body swept up like a ghost as she charged towards Master Fei.
Rumble! The two of them fought each other. Luo Qingtong and the Fei family head were evenly matched with the power of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree's core and her eye technique.
However, Gala.
The life and death yin-yang sword cut into the inner armor of family head Fei, producing an ear-piercing sound.
I can't cut it.
Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes.
The defense of a martial emperor was indeed powerful.
The absorption power of the life blade, combined with the power of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding wood, was unable to cut open the inner armor on the opponent's body. In such a situation, even if she could see through the flaws in her opponent's attack, she wouldn't be able to kill him. However, was he going to let Patriarch Fei off just like that? Not to mention that Luo Qingtong was unwilling. The other party would not let her go at this time. Chapter 365. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes.
At this moment, bah! Die my ass!
Little Pig instantly jumped out of Luo Qingtong's sleeve. Grandpa Pig won't show his power. Do you think I don't exist? As he spoke, a consciousness fluctuation mixed with something was transmitted into Luo Qingtong's mind. Quick, Master, do as I say. Let's torture him together. After receiving this information, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She narrowed her eyes and glanced at Little Pig. In the next second, her figure flew up. In the sky filled with flames, black and red contrasted against each other. Luo Qingtong's figure was even more beautiful than the flames. Her clothes fluttered in the contrast of this blood-red color. She raised her hand and pointed at the space between her eyebrows. The ancient seal, the king of the wilderness, in the name of the owner of the blood contract between heaven and earth, remove the seal. Swoosh! As Luo Qingtong pointed her finger, an upside-down hexagram symbol suddenly appeared on her forehead. Countless rays of light circulated. The energy in Luo Qingtong's body was quickly absorbed, including the energy converted by the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood. Boom! As the hexagram symbol appeared on Luo Qingtong's forehead, Little Pig's body was also suddenly covered by a huge hexagram symbol. The dazzling light directly covered Little Pig's small pink body, leaving only a ball of blazing light. At the same time, the wind and clouds surged between heaven and earth. In the dark night sky, a group of dark clouds thicker than the night sky seemed to gather, blocking the bright moonlight in the sky. Voila! Amidst the surging clouds, a huge vortex appeared. After that, a ferocious roar of a beast that seemed to have come from the primordial times suddenly resounded. In the next second, an incomparably huge claw suddenly stretched out from the vortex. Boom! When the claw stretched out, the surrounding space was instantly shattered. A terrifying pressure enveloped the surroundings. Bang! Patriarch Fei's body, which was rushing towards Luo Qingtong, seemed to be frozen by something. No! Impossible! The blood contract between heaven and earth, the reversal of the laws of heaven and earth, and this seal, this is... He watched in horror as the huge claw slammed down. In an instant, he and the light green inner armor on his body were smashed into a pile of meat paste. The ground was unharmed. The huge claw retracted. At the same time, rumble! In an instant, more than half of the Fei family's residence collapsed. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong's body fell to the ground. All the energy in her body had been sucked dry, and so had the energy from the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding wood in her hand. If not for a sudden surge of energy from the life and death dual polarity sword supporting her at the critical moment, she would have died. She might not even have the strength to stand. That pig only said that this could temporarily remove its seal. It didn't say that it would have to pay such a huge price to remove the seal. She was almost sucked dry. And this was only a claw. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. She grabbed Little Pig, who had fallen limply in midair, and stuffed it into her sleeve. Then she glanced at the ground. An account book had fallen to the ground. What's this? Luo Qingtong picked it up and flipped through it. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.